Hey guys, how are you all? Welcome to. So we are back with a brand new movie on What If Naruto Was Upcoming Sensei of Negima and had harem. But before we start, be sure to subscribe to our channel and like this video. Now let's begin the story. Okay Naruto, I want you to stay put and not do anything stupid, okay? A tall old man said. He had long spiked white hair that went to his mid-back. He wore an olive green gi with a red vest over it, and had a large scroll tied to his back. Lastly on his feet were geta. Trailing down from his eyes were two red lines that looked like tears. He was glaring down at a blonde-haired boy in front of him who had whisker-like marks on his cheeks, 3 on each. The boy had his arms crossed and was pouting, his eyes closed, making him look like a fox. He was wearing a disgusting orange jumpsuit, and had on a hitai with an odd leaf symbol on it. Why do you want me to stay here? Didn't you promise to teach me how to do summoning arrow senin? The blonde boy, Naruto, whined. Don't call me that. My name is Jiraiya, you damned Gaki. The now named Jiraiya shouted, as he slammed his fist onto Naruto's head. Ah, but arrow senin. No buts. Jiraiya shouted, now I want you to stay here and practice summoning. And with that Jiraiya walked away. Naruto sat cross-legged glaring at the man's retreating back. Grumbling something incoherent, Naruto stood up and walked over to the side of the stream. I don't see why he still has me practicing summoning. I mean, I was able to summon that big frog a while back. Naruto shouted indignantly into the air. It's because you're an idiot. A deep threatening voice taunted from out of nowhere. Naruto let out a groan as he fell to the floor. Naruto knew who it was. It was the Kyuubi no Yuko, the reason for his tormented childhood, the reason for people not liking him, and the reason why he couldn't get rest for the past few days. You damned Yuko, why do you keep bothering me? Naruto yelled. Ever since he had asked the fox for help with summoning Gamabunta a couple days ago, the fox had been talking to him for no apparent reason. Because it's fun. Other than sleeping, it's the only thing I can do from within this cage that damned man put me in. If he were here I would rip him to shreds, just like you. The fox roared. But keep shouting out loud. I mean, people will think you are crazy. The fox laughed. I hate you, you know, Naruto thought as he neared the riverbed. I return the sentiment, you know. The two beings sighed simultaneously. Hating each other was hard work apparently. Hey, give me some of your chakra. I want to be able to summon something strong again. Naruto heard the fox grumble, but he already felt a surge of power running through him. You're not as bad as you think, you know. Shut up, Gaki. Sheesh, can't take a compliment. Naruto shook his head and started to go through the 5 hand seals he need for summoning. Mindscape. The Kyuubi was lying down trying to rest after giving the blonde a tail's worth of chakra. He and the idiot didn't get along well, but he needed the boy in order to survive. Sometimes this kid is a pain in the tail, the Kyuubi thought to himself as he let the boy try the summoning. As he was resting, the Kyuubi felt something weird pulling at him. Something isn't right. It feels as if. The Kyuubi's eyes snapped open. Gaki, stop that. You're not doing the summoning jutsu. Real world. Naruto was trying the right hand seals for summoning, but thanks to holding onto Gamabunta for an entire day his fingers were numb. But that didn't stop him from trying to summon the frog again. Going through his 5 hand seals, he was about to summon and ignored the shouting fox inside his gut. Kuchio's no jutsu. Something went wrong. Naruto fell to the floor. His fingers were digging into the dirt, as a nerve-wracking pain engulfed his body. His eyes were becoming red in cornea, and his veins were bulging out around his body. Naruto felt as if every single cell in his body was being cut into a million pieces. He rolled on the floor as the pain increased tenfold. He could even hear the Kyuubi roaring in pain. The ground started to tremble as he felt even more energy bursting from out of him. His skin was being peeled off his body and he was bleeding profusely. Steam was then being emitted from his body as his temperature rose exponentially. Up until that moment he hadn't made a sound, but when it got too intense he let out a scream that pierced the silent sky of the river. Aarrgghh. With Jiraiya. Ladies, that's right, I'm the great Jiraiya. Jiraiya boasted as he was in a bar with a lady on each arm. In front of him were various foods and alcoholic beverages. There was music playing. My books are a worldwide success. So I got the food and drinks covered. Jiraiya-sama. The two girls cooed, as they hung off his arms. He was so happy that he left the kid to go do some more research. His fun came to a screeching halt when he heard a scream piercing his ears. Aarrgghh. Jiraiya stopped what he was doing and his eyes widened. Naruto. Jiraiya whispered. He quickly got up and placed several bills onto the table, and ran out of the bar. Sorry ladies, but something important came up. He kept running towards the river where he left Naruto with a horror-stricken look on his face. Naruto, Naruto, please be okay, he whispered to himself as he kept running towards the stream. When he entered the tree line he jumped up to a branch, and began jumping from branch to branch. Jiraiya-chan, an old voice called out to him. Looking behind himself, Jiraiya saw 3 people jumping behind him. One was an old man with white and red robes. His face was covered in wrinkles and had a few warts here and there. His eyes had darkened bags under them. This was the 3rd Hokage of Konohagakure, the village hidden in the leaves, Hiruzen Sarutobi. What is happening with Naruto-kun? I don't know, old man, Jiraiya replied. I just left him so he can train by himself. After that I don't know what happened. So you don't know what happened, Jiraiya-sama? A man with gravity-defying silver hair asked. He was wearing navy blue ninja pants and a long-sleeved blue shirt under a dark green-colored vest with many pouches. On his forehead was the same Hitai like Naruto, except his was tilted so that it could cover his left eye. A mask made of the same material as his clothes covered his mouth. I was training Sasuke before this and he got mad when I had left. I had to leave the students for this, but I was worried for Naruto as well. Kakashi, said a brunette man with pineapple hairstyle. He was garbed in the same thing as the now named Kakashi, except his vest was a forest green. Across his nose was a large scar. I hope he's okay. I hope so too, Iruka, Kakashi replied as they jumped to another branch. RGGH, Ner. The screams were getting stronger and louder as they neared the area. When the 4 men got there they had to look away. All but one of them had been in war at some point in their life, but the sight in front of them almost made them vomit. Naruto was rolling on the floor losing massive amounts of blood. A majority of his skin was missing and flesh could be seen, some parts had his blood-darkened bones showing. The oxygen was leaving his body in the form of steam. His clothes were being burnt away by invisible flames. Naruto's screams kept getting louder by the second and his body was starting to deteriorate. Naruto, Iruka shouted as he ran towards the boy. When he got within 20 feet, he hit an invisible wall and was repulsed back. Iruka rolled on the floor before coming to a stop. Iruka, are you alright? Kakashi asked. Iruka nodded but went back to look at Naruto. A bright light suddenly was made underneath Naruto and a wall of energy that the 4 had never felt before surrounded him in a 20-feet radius, with Naruto as the center. The skies above them darkened with clouds that weren't there before and a large circle, about the same size as the one Naruto was in, appeared. Symbols that none of them have ever seen slowly filled the circle in various different colors. What in the world is happening? Sarutobi asked. The energies around Naruto began to swirl faster at an exponentially increasing speed. The circle in the sky was getting brighter as the energies flew faster. Ah, Erk! Naruto's scream reached its peak as the thing in the sky grew brighter. Everyone tried to get Naruto out of there. Now, Sarutobi ordered. But sadly no matter what they did, no matter what jutsu the 4 tried, the circle repelled them all away from itself. Jiraiya even summoned one of the bigger frogs to attack it, but it too was repelled. Then all of a sudden Naruto stopped shouting and rolling around. The 4 men looked on trying to see what was happening. The gravely damaged Naruto stood up, blood still rolling off of him. He was breathing heavily before looking around. When his face turned to the 4 men they were shocked. More than half his face was burned away, leaving only flesh. I'm sorry, was all Naruto said while looking at them. His voice was not his own voice. It was more of an amalgamation of his and the Kyuubi's. His eyes were mismatched as one was his regular blue eye, while the left eye was red and slitted, like that of the Kyuubi. Kyuubi, Kakashi whispered. What have you done to the boy Kyuubi? The Hokage demanded in a harsh tone. Look, no matter how much I loathe all of you I have a sense of self-preservation, the fox responded. The boy is barely conscious as of the moment, and he was the one who apologized to you, not I. However, I couldn't stop the Gaki fast enough. He did some sort of jutsu even I'm not aware of. I only have a couple more seconds before this technique takes us, the Kyuubi told them. Takes you where? I don't know. We can end up in Kumo, Kiri or somewhere there isn't even humans like the bottom of the sea. We may even end up in a completely different dimension. I don't know where we're going. All I know is that we won't be able to come back until I can get my tails back. This jutsu forcefully used all 9 tails worth of power. So at the moment I'm powerless to even stop the jutsu that the Gaki has tried. I can't promise that I will help the brat, but I do need him to survive, so I'll do what I can, the Kyuubi told the 4. Please let us help Naruto, Iruka shouted as he put his hand onto the circle. Yes, please let us help him. Kakashi agreed. I would if I could. But it seems like this world is starting to reject our very presence. Kyuubi stated. Looking up to the sky, Kyuubi let out a sigh of, was it regret? Looks like our time is up. Do you have any parting words for the Gaki? Don't say it as if he's dying. Iruka shouted. Do you know how bad this is? Do you know how sad this will make Naruto? He finally found his place with us and now this has to happen. This is all your fault, Kyuubi. I wasn't saying as if he is going to die. I was saying it so he can have something to remember before we can get back. Tell him. Kakashi started, his head bowed down. Tell him I'm sorry. I would have been there more for him, but a promise to my friend and the council had me helping out Sasuke more than I could help him. I wish I could have been there for him more. If he does come back, I promise to help him out with whatever he needs. The Kyuubi nodded. Tell him that I'll tell him everything. Everything that I've been keeping from him in secret. And I know that you know all the secrets as well, Fox, Sarutobi glared. So please don't say it to him for me. It was my mistake for not telling him, or the rest of this village. The old man slowly rubbed his temples as tears started coming out of his eyes. I owe him that much. Once again the Kyuubi nodded. Tell him I'll teach him anything he wants. Jiraiya said, I wasn't there at all for him when I should have been. When he gets back, I'll actually be there for him. The Kyuubi closed his eyes and nodded again. Take care of him, Kyuubi, Iruka threatened as he cried. If anything, tell him that I'll treat him to Ichiraku's when he gets back. That's all I can do for him now. The Kyuubi sighed and nodded. The light in the sky had intensified to such a degree it rivaled that of the sun. I'll tell him you said goodbye, the Kyuubi said, as the giant circle shot a light that engulfed the blonde entirely. Everyone who was there for the Chunin exam saw the giant flash of light and went to investigate. Various ninja from Konoha had arrived and all they saw was the four men staring out into a giant burnt circle where only 2 footprints in the center showed that someone was standing there. Everyone return to your posts. There is nothing to see here. The Hokage boomed as he left, motioning for the other 3 to follow him. Unknown location. Everything was dark. No matter what Naruto tried to do, he just couldn't see anything. It was as if some person had blinded him. Wake up, Naruto heard somebody say. Naruto tried to pinpoint just where exactly the voice was coming from. Wake up. Still trying to follow the voice, Naruto guessed that the voice was right in front of him. I am awake. I can't see though, Naruto responded. He noted that his voice was not his own, and was a lot higher pitched. You're an idiot. Roll over, you dumbass, the voice growled. Naruto would have smacked his forehead if he hadn't been face down. He turned over and opened his eyes. He saw a cloudless blue sky, with the sun hovering over it. Looking to the left he saw an expanse of desert, and it was the same to his right, but he didn't see any sign of the person who was speaking to him. The blonde then felt a weight on his chest and looked up. On his chest was a small fox that had crimson fur and patches of black on his paws and underbelly, as well as the tips of its ears. Naruto also saw a fluffy tail swishing in the back of it. Hey little fella, have you seen who was talking to me? He asked, his voice still not matching what it was supposed to be. I am the one who was talking to you, you idiot, the fox growled. Naruto's eyes widened and he slapped the fox away from him. He quickly got on his feet and stumbled away before looking at the fox just as it was regaining its bearings. What are you? He asked as he put some distance away from himself and the fox. It's me, you dumbass Gaki. The Kyuubi, the fox replied, shaking his body to get the sand out of the fur. He then looked at the boy who was holding his gun and covering his mouth. Got a problem, Gaki? Asked Kyuubi, raising an eyebrow. Do foxes even have eyebrows? Naruto couldn't hold it in any longer and started laughing obnoxiously at the fox. Ha ha ha. Oh my god, ha ha ha. What happened to you? Ha ha ha. You're so small. Naruto couldn't stop laughing. Hey, if you think this is funny, the joke's on you. You're small now too. The fox laughed. The boy stopped laughing when Kyuubi said that. Looking around, Naruto saw a small oasis and ran to it. When he got under the shade of the palm trees and neared the water, he skidded to a halt and took a drink of it first, to parch his thirst. He then looked at the reflection. His eyes widened at what they saw. He no longer looked like himself, but more like his younger 6-year-old self. But his clothes were still the same from when he was 12, and were oversized. What the hell? Naruto shouted. Why do I look 6? Because you probably are 6, Kyuubi stated. Naruto's jaw dropped. What do you mean by that? I mean you were de-aged, so to speak, when you messed up on that stupid jutsu and transported us here. Oh, that reminds me. Using his tail, Kyuubi picked up a rock and chucked it at Naruto's head, hitting it dead center on the forehead. The blonde fell to the floor with swirls in his eyes. That's for taking us somewhere outside of the elemental nations and putting me through so much pain, you idiot. Wait, what did you say? Naruto asked, getting up. You idiot. No, before that. Putting me through so much pain. No, before that too. Naruto then got hit by another rock. Not that, you damned Yuko. I meant after that, but before everything else. Oh, the fox then sighed. Gaki, you better sit down. I have a lot to tell you. And I want you to hold your complaints, questions and whines till the end, got that? Naruto opened his mouth, but the Kyuubi's glare shut him up. So for what seemed like countless hours, Kyuubi told Naruto what had happened since the fox woke up. He explained that they are no longer in their world and probably have a very small chance of returning to their world. He also told Naruto the farewell comments from his teachers. This made Naruto cry, but Kyuubi told him to shut up, seeing as he still had stuff to say. Kyuubi then said that he couldn't access his Yuki for some reason and that all of Naruto's chakra pathways were crushed somehow, leaving him utterly incapacitated. He then went on to say that Kyuubi couldn't go too far away from Naruto or both of them will experience a shock like no other, seeing as he walked away a good 20 meters before being zapped. How do I know you're not pulling my leg? I mean, for all we know, we could be in Suna. Naruto questioned. I had thought of that too, but it's too cool to be Suna in this time of year. It should be blazing hot. That in the wildlife is rather dangerous compared to the elemental nations. What? Naruto asked. The Kyuubi pointed to the sky and Naruto followed it. Looking up, he saw a massive creature, even bigger than Gamabunta, fly overhead. Whoa, what was that thing? From the looks of it, some sort of dragon, Kyuubi replied, jumping up onto Naruto's shoulder. Cool, I've never seen a dragon before. Do you think we'll get to see one up close? Gaki, you don't need to act all stupid and tough with me. I've known you since birth, so you don't have to hold back your tears. I'm not acting tough, I'm. Naruto felt the Kyuubi pat him on the head using his tail, and actually saw concern flash through the fox's eyes. Naruto sighed and fell to his knees, sobbing into his hands. The fox just sat there waiting for him to stop. After a couple of minutes, the boy stopped his crying and wiped away his tears. Thanks. For what? The Kyuubi asked, stretching his stiff limbs. For just being there. You aren't as bad as you look, you know that. Kyuubi's eyes bulged out of their sockets and he turned to the boy. If you ever say that once we return to the elemental nations, I will rip your throat out, am I clear? Kyuubi threatened, baring his fangs. Naruto gulped and nodded his head quickly. Good, I have a reputation to keep up and I don't want it tarnished by you. The fox then stiffened. Someone's coming. Huh, hide, you idiot. The fox hissed and the two dove underneath some bushes to hide from whomever was approaching the area. The two saw a pair of feet with black shoes and white jeans stopping in front of them. Now that it was much closer, Naruto could feel the overwhelming power coming off of whoever was standing in front of them. Kyuubi nudged at Naruto's arm, getting the boy's attention. The fox made a motion to leave and Naruto nodded. But as the two were about to run, a pair of hands grabbed them and pulled them out of the bushes. When both Kyuubi and Naruto were out of the bushes, they were face to face with a giant of a man with dark skin and long spiked white hair. He had on a blue short-sleeve jacket and a magenta headband. He had a scar across his nose just like Iruka. The man had muscles almost everywhere. He had a smirk on his face when he stared at the two in his hands. The man opened his mouth and spoke, but Naruto and Kyuubi didn't understand what he was saying. Huh, the two said at the same time. The man spoke again, but Naruto and Kyuubi didn't understand. Okay, I have no idea what this man was saying. Naruto whispered to Kyuubi. I have no clue either, Kyuubi stated. But once he puts us down, we run for it, okay? Naruto nodded. The man in front of them had a frown on his face and was thinking hard about what to do. Slowly he put the two down and let go of Naruto's collar and the Kyuubi's fur. As soon as two's feet touched the floor, they ran away as fast as they could. The two heard the man chuckle and looked behind them. The man wasn't there, and since they weren't looking, they bumped into a hard wall. Wait, there wasn't a wall here, was there? Kyuubi asked with a sigh. Nope, so that means. Naruto sighed as well as they were picked up by the scruff of their necks. The man didn't seem to be angry, he didn't even seem to be irritated. In fact, he looked just plain happy that they tried to escape. They heard the man muttering a few words as he held them. Do you think this guy is crazy? What type of crazy? That guy sensei of yours crazy or Gaara crazy? From the feel of things, guy sensei crazy. Yeah, I get the same vibe. There was a small flash that blinded the two and then they felt different. Did he do something? Yes, I did something, the man replied. Oh, you did? Kyuubi replied. Both he and Naruto nodded their heads before stopping. Wait, we can understand you. Ah yes, and I can understand you two little fellas, the man chuckled. Now what were you doing in my house? Huh, your house? Naruto asked. The man smirked again as an illusion had disappeared, showing a bigger oasis than what was originally there. There was even a large building and a pagoda on the giant lake. Wow, that was cool, Naruto said in awe. Gaki, pay attention, or if you haven't noticed that we are still caught by some man we don't even know. Kyuubi growled. Oh right, who are you, you old geezer? Naruto asked curiously. Che, still no respect for his elders. Ha ha ha, the man bellowed. It's all cool, little fox. Having no respect is nice sometimes. My name is Jack Rakan. Nice to meet you, Naruto Uzumaki. Ow. Naruto tried to rub his head as he glared Kyuubi as he retracted his tail. What was that for? Don't give away important information to people whom you don't know, Kyuubi growled. Sheesh, for a ninja you're still pretty stupid. A ninja, huh? Rakan asked. The Kyuubi's eyes widened as he realized his slip-up. Don't give away any information, huh? Naruto deadpanned. You two still haven't answered my question. What are you doing in my house? Rakan asked again. Give us one moment, Kyuubi motioned. Rakan nodded his head and put the two closer to each other so they can whisper. So what do you think we should do? Naruto asked. Well, if it is anything to go by, this man could kill us if we try to run. Did you feel his power? Naruto nodded. So trying to run is out of the idea, he can catch us in a blink of an eye. I also think he is much stronger than he gives away, so fighting him is also out of the question. He also seems too smart for his own good, though he gives off an air of stupidity just like you. Hey, so lying is out of the question. So what does that leave us with? Tell him the truth, Kyuubi sighed. We are at a serious disadvantage if you look at all the variables. Naruto thought about it and nodded. Rakan-san, we are ready. Ah okay, Rakan stated, separating the two. So are you going to tell me what you are doing in my house? The Kyuubi sighed and began to speak, telling Naruto to shut up each time he opened his mouth. He explained everything to the man, hopefully to not anger him. After a moment they finished. Man slowly put them down to the ground and the two didn't run away. So you are telling me you want to find a way home? The two nodded. Well, I'm sorry to say that even in this world, we can't do interdimensional traveling. What do you mean by this world? Kyuubi asked. Rakan rubbed his chin and thought about what to say. Well, I guess since you explained your situation to me, I should tell you something about myself in this world. Rakan went into a large speech about where they were, the world of Mundus Magicus, a world where magic and fantasy was real. Apparently the two had arrived in this world right after a crisis that affected the whole magical world. He also explained that he was one of the few heroes of this world and helped save it. Naruto's eyes were wide in awe, while the Kyuubi took everything the man had to say in stride. That is so cool, I mean magic does exist. Naruto shouted while throwing his hands into the air. This had Rakan bellowing in laughter. Why are you telling us this? Kyuubi asked seriously. What do you have to gain by telling us all that information? Absolutely nothing, but as you were saying in that little conversation you and the boy had while whispering, you had everything to gain and I could crush you like a bug if I wanted, Rakan smiled. So what are you two going to do? We'll try to live on our own here and try to figure out what to do from there, Kyuubi sighed. Yeah, I might as well try to learn how to do magic as well. Naruto sighed as well. I mean, how hard could it be? Say Kyuubi, how about you two stay with me? I can teach the Gaki and have him learn some magic with me. Rakan said. Really? Kyuubi and Naruto asked at the same time. Yes, really, but, the two copied. You have to pay me 100 million magic dollars. What? Naruto shouted indignantly. 100 million, MMMPH. Kyuubi jumped up onto Naruto's shoulder and used his tail to muffle his mouth. Give us another moment, Kyuubi forcefully laughed. The two walked over a bit and began to argue, and Rakan just watched in humor. The blonde started waving his arms and the fox growled louder. They then began to wrestle, but in the end Kyuubi was sitting on top of Naruto, with a smirk on his face. Naruto stood up and dusted himself off before the two walked back over to him. Take us to a casino and we will get your money in 3 hours. Kyuubi stated. Oh really now? Rakan laughed. Are you sure you can pull it off? The Kyuubi laughed and shook his head, while looking at Naruto. Time skipped 3 hours, at a casino in a city. Rakan was standing outside the casino door waiting for Naruto to come outside. Hey, I highly doubt that these two will be able to get that much within 3 hours, Rakan laughed to himself. O ye of little faith, Kyuubi snickered as both he and Naruto walked out of the casino with a bag of money. How much is in the bag? 1 million magic dollars, Naruto said with confidence. So you couldn't get the other 99 million? Rakan laughed. Oh no, we got it all right. We just couldn't carry it all. They're delivering it by hovercraft, Naruto pointed up. Looking up, Rakan's jaw dropped as a hovercraft was lifting countless bags of money. Is that enough to cover it? Naruto put his arm out to shake hands with the guy. Rakan's mouth opened and closed multiple times before smirking. Well kid, it looks like you got yourself a deal. Rakan shook his hand. Naruto jumped up and down and the Kyuubi hopped up onto Rakan's shoulder. That's not the only reason, is it? Kyuubi asked with a smirk. He's going to be our money ticket if we run low, Rakan laughed maniacally, the Kyuubi following suit. All was quiet in the Hellas Empire. Since the war had ended 5 years ago, nothing much has happened. The peace and prosperity had people happy and well. Even the rather hot-headed Theodora, third princess of the empire, who usually caused trouble, had been quiet for a long time. This had surprised people to a certain degree and they were willing to take it. This happy silence was broken on a day most people would want to forget. At the large extravagant castle where the royal family lived, with its large spires and multiple floors, a very large explosion could be heard, shattering all the windows. The staff within the castle sighed at what was happening. Get back here and gives those back, you little twerp, screeched the voice of none other than said third princess. A pair of guards in front of the throne room shook their heads when they saw a small dark blur run past them, followed by their princess. She was garbed in a short black battle skirt and a matching corset, with a garter being attached to black stockings. Her skin was a nice tan and her long blonde hair flowed in the wind. This was the 15-year-old, 3-year-old in Hellion years, Princess Theodora. Twerp, I may seem 9 but I'm 15. You're only older by a little bit, a young male voice retorted back. The person she was chasing was a lot shorter than her, probably a good foot and a half. Loose white silk pants covered his legs, accompanied by black boots with matching fingerless gloves on his hands. Theodore caught sight of his red t-shirt under his long hooded white coat, and in his hand was a small brown package. The hood was on his head, but she still knew who this idiot was. I don't care if you're 5 years older than me or if I'm 20 years older than you. Just give me back what you stole. The princess thundered as the two rounded a corner and sped down a long corridor. I would if I could, but this is training. The boy shouted back. He slid under a large sofa being moved by 2 servants and righted himself as he passed it by. Guards seized the twerp, Theodora shouted as she ran under the sofa as well. The fugitive looked in front of him and saw 5 armored figures standing at the end of the hallway, lances at the ready to fight him. The boy's lips turned into a smirk as he saw them. Sorry guys, but you're in my way, he said jovially as he ran towards them. The figure stopped in front of the one directly in the middle and pulled back his left fist, the package in his right. An orange aura engulfed him, and when he felt a small pulse within it, he punched the guard. Right after it connected, he sent a barrage of 5 more, lifting the person into the air. Following his opponent, the thief did another 5 punches encased in the orange aura, sending him back even more. The thief finished doing another flurry of punches, leaving the person suspended in the air. For every hit that had connected, more of the orange aura had burst forth from his fist. As the thief touched the ground, the armor of the guard in midair broke down and was sent spiraling into the wall behind him. All of this happening within the time span of 20 seconds. Then with a smooth flick of his left wrist, the thief conjured up 3 dark crimson orbs that floated above him, sending a barrage of energy projectiles that stunned his opponents and knocked them out. Smiling at his handiwork, the thief nodded before feeling some killing intent aimed at him. Looking behind him, he saw the princess gain ground on his position. Damn, the thief cursed and began to run again. Running down a corridor, he talked aloud as he ran. Hey, where are you? I'm in the position you told me to be waiting at, you dumbass. Where are you? A rather impatient male voice stated. Running down the corridor right now, Theodora is still on my tail. The thief stopped talking for a moment when he saw another group of guards in front of him. Halt, the one in the middle shouted. Mentally cursing the idiot who made him do this sort of training, the thief jumped up into the air. He seemingly was going to land right in front of where the guards were standing, but then kicked off the air, giving him a second jump and landed right behind them in crouch before taking off in a mad dash. This left the guards in a confused state, seeing as he didn't attack him. What are you idiots doing gawking there? After him, he stole some precious item. Theodora shouted, her face growing redder by the second due to her fury. Not wanting to end up on the wrong end of the stick when the princess was furious, they ran after the thief. The thief in question hit a four-way intersection at the halls. Taking a chance to see where his pursuers were, he looked over his shoulder. There they were, only 20 feet behind him, with a very furious princess in the lead. As he passed the intersection, he dropped the package and kept running. Theodora sighed in relief, seeing the person they were chasing drop the thing he stole. Just as the group got within 5 feet of it, a red blur shot out from the left side and darted down the adjacent corridor. Theodora's jaw dropped at what just happened. "You have got to be kidding me," she shouted into the air. "How can I forget about the twerp's partner? After that fox." So once again the chase was on. The fox being chased had dark red fur with black patches on the paws, tips of the tail, ears and snout. The thing that set it apart was that it had 2 tails instead of 1. In its mouth was the brown package its partner was holding onto only a few seconds ago. It skillfully dodged left and right as it ran, evading magical arrows being sent his way. Arriving at another intersection, it stopped moving altogether. Theodora didn't want to get her hopes up, in case of anything bad were to happen. Just as she thought it, the thief ran by, grabbed the fox placing it on his shoulder and ran down the corridor. As the guards and the disgruntled princess arrived at the intersection, they saw the boy going towards a stained glass window. In his right hand, black and purple-colored electricity began to flow as magic filled the air. An orb the size of a basketball and the same color as the electricity then appeared in his hand. The thief then threw it forward with a shout of, "Or a ball." The orb of darkness collided with the window, destroying it and a good portion of the wall as well. The thief and his partner then jumped out of the window, and with an audible popping noise Theodora knew they just teleported. "Damn it," she huffed and stomped her feet. "I need to get that back before he gets back to his master." "What is it that he stole, princess?" one guard bravely asked. "He stole something rather personal to me," Theodora stated with a defeated sigh, as she walked over to the wall, and looked over the vast city she was in. Unknown alleyway. A large sky blue ring appeared on the floor of a seedy alley, and with a popping noise the thief and his fox companion materialized into the alley. Landing on one knee, the thief let out a sigh of relief. "Well damn, wasn't that just stupid? I don't see how stealing a pair of underwear from Theodora is going to help me train," the thief whined. He pulled down his hood, to reveal an older-looking Naruto at the scrawny age of 9. However, compared to his past time when he was 9, he had more muscle this time around thanks to the training of Rakan for the past 3 years. He sat down on the ground and leaned against the wall of the building behind him. "I mean seriously, what's the point of stealing some girl's underwear? It's just sick and wrong. Kid, it functions the same way as your old sexy no jutsu. That was to distract guys, this one is used to distract girls," the fox on his shoulder told him. "Still sick and wrong on so many levels, Kyubi," Naruto mumbled his response. "I don't see what's so special about it. I mean both the old geezer and Arrow Senin are like this. You may be 15, yet you still think with a 12-year-old mind, kid." Kyubi stretched and curled itself on his shoulders, giving a small yawn. "Well, if you need me, don't wake me." Naruto frowned as he got up and walked out of the alley. "Yeah, go to sleep while I walk miles home, why don't ya?" Naruto checked to make sure he still had the package on him before setting off towards the desert. Though you could feel the sexual tension between Theodora and Rakan when they see each other. But that is just nasty thinking about it. I mean, he's like 50-something and she's only in her teens. When the image popped up into his mind, Naruto ran over to a trash can and puked out the contents of his stomach. Goo, I have to stop doing that. Shuddering as the remnants of the image stained his mind, he decided to run as fast as he can to get to the small oasis in the desert he called home, before another disturbing image appeared in his brain. Time skip 5 hours. Rakan's home. Naruto walked through the shifting veil that he had to learn to put up onto the place he has come to call home for the past 3 years. During the entire trip back, Naruto had thought about what had happened since his arrival in the magical world. The day right after he was accepted as Rakan's apprentice, Naruto was rudely awakened at 4 in the morning in order to run laps around the area. At first Naruto thought he meant the oasis, but he was sadly mistaken and was forced to run from the oasis to a nearby city, which was a good 5 miles and back. Naruto had promptly given up on the run back. This was then followed up by hellish amounts of push-ups, sit-ups, endurance training and various other things Rakan could think of to increase his physical abilities to a large degree. This man's work ethic put that of might guys to shame. The crazy old geezer worked him to the ground on daily basis, save for when they ran out of money. When that happened, they took him to a casino in some other country and basically made them give up their money to him. Lady Luck was just on his side apparently. It wasn't until his second year of training that he started learning magic. Rakan and Kyuubi snorted when they thought he should learn the basics. Heck, they only spent one day on teaching him that, drilling it into him until he actually knew what to do. The following proceeded with the trio trying to find the right type of magic to teach Naruto. They had gone to several bookstores to find the right one to match up with his personality. Each time there was a failure, they were nearly run out of the store by the owner, who was screaming bloody murder when the blonde burnt several ancient texts. The only reason they were allowed back into those stores was because Rakan knew the people. It was on the second week of searching they found two tomes that had gotten Naruto's interest, as well as it hasn't met the catastrophe known as Naruto yet. Both were bound with thick leather, one black with violet letters, the other white with golden letters. Naruto opened the white-bound book first that had the words, Tome of Heroes, on it. It had detailed instructions to the moves of several heroes from all across time and the various lands. How it got there no one knows. The black one was called the Tome of Villains, which was almost the same as the other book, except had the magic and abilities of several villains listed down. When they asked to buy it, the owner stated that it's a 2-for-1 deal, seeing as they were both missing half its content each. From that point on, they added various magic training to his already large amount of physical training. Rakan decided to teach him weapon handling as well, seeing as some of the moves from within the tomes required weapon skills. From what Naruto had learned in those 2 years, he considered himself rather mediocre at his skills, but that was okay, he was training for only 2 years. It was also during this time Naruto had experienced his first kill. A group of assassins had been planning on killing a representative from Ostia. Rakan and himself had went to fend them off. When one of the people got close to the representative, Naruto reacted and stabbed him through the heart with a blade. The blonde couldn't stomach his food for days, and was bawling. He had just taken the life of another person, and it got to him bad. Rakan and Kyuubi did their best to comfort him, and with time Naruto got better, but the sting of killing was still fresh in his mind and that gut-wrenching feeling of taking a life never left him, and Rakan told him that it's okay. If he didn't feel anything when he killed, that was when Naruto should worry. Rakan also took this time to teach Naruto about the advanced technology in the world. Compared to his home where the most advanced piece of technology were old computers with green and black screens, this world was so advanced that Naruto almost couldn't handle it at first. But little by little he had gotten used to the tech of this world. That was when the fact that he wasn't in his world anymore finally registered in his brain. It wasn't that he didn't like this world, he actually loved it here. He was just homesick from time to time, thinking about how his friends were doing now and what Gigi was doing. He wondered if they still remembered him, if Lee was still as crazy as he was, if Sasuke was still obsessing over his revenge, if Sakura still had a crush on Sasuke. Naruto sighed and shook his head. He hadn't made any leeway on finding a way home either. Going from library to library, he had no luck on finding anything on interdimensional travel. Now the only thing he had left of his home world was the Hittite tied to his forehead, and Kyuubi. Speaking of the Kyuubi, which Naruto calls Q from time to time, they no longer had a strange relationship of hate, but more of an older brother-younger brother relationship. They would bicker and argue a lot, even wrestle, but it was all fun and games to them. Slowly after 2 years the 20 feet proximity requirement to each other had disappeared and they were free to roam around on their own. However, Kyuubi got so used to his perch on Naruto's shoulders that it became his favorite spot to nap. Naruto also figured out that he has to allow Kyuubi an amount of tails that he can use, making Naruto the limiter to Kyuubi's power. Sighing, he decided to stop mulling over the past and focus on the present. Walking through the ruins surrounding the oasis, he found his sensei looking over the water, his arms crossed in thought. "Well, isn't this new?" Kyuubi said, waking up. "You seem to be thinking at the moment." "What's the matter, Rakan?" "Hey." The old man turned around and smirked at them. "We got a mission." "We?" Naruto asked almost incredulously, but the excitement on his face showed how much he's been waiting for this. "You mean I get to go with you?" Rakan nodded, still smirking. A smile that stretched from ear to ear appeared on Naruto's face as he began to run around in circles, whooping and hollering about how he finally gets to do something cool for once. Kyuubi shook his head and jumped from the blonde's shoulder onto that of Rakan's. "So what's the mission going to be?" Kyuubi asked. "Not sure yet. We're going to be meeting up with some of my old friends for the info," Rakan replied. Naruto stopped dead in his tracks and looked at Rakan with stars in his eyes. You mean I get to meet Nagi and the rest of the Alarubra? Naruto asked, barely containing the massive amount of awe within his voice. Kid must be excited, Kyuubi noted with a chuckle. How come you weren't that excited about meeting me? Rakan said with anime tears rolling down his face cheeks. The moment I learned you were a slave driver when it comes to hard work, the awe really washes away, Naruto responded with his eyes closed. But then again, I'm a hard worker just like yourself, so that's why I wasn't so mesmerized. But now I get to meet the hero of the magical world, the Thousand Master. Naruto kept walking around and ranting on about how cool this was going to be. You know you shouldn't have said that we're meeting your friends. Now that idiot won't shut up on the entire trip to wherever we are going, Kyuubi muttered to Rakan. The man in response just chuckled and shook his head. No, it's fine. It's always good to see that kid happy like this, it gives off this uplifting feeling, Rakan replied with a smile as he watched the boy bounce around the entire area, full of joy. Scene change. A few hours ago, Naruto and the Kyuubi had met the members of Alarubra. There was Alberio Ima, a sarcastic mage who uses gravity, and the team medic reminded Naruto of Kakashi a bit. Ishin Kono, a stoic master swordsman from the real world, reminded Naruto a little bit of Ebisu. An old man named Getu Vanderberg who smokes and has an odd fighting style, reminded Naruto of the old man Hokage, along with his apprentice Takemichi Takahata, reminded Naruto of Shikamaru's sensei. What was his name again? Naruto could never remember his name, and lastly there was the man himself, Nagi Springfield, the Thousand Master. Kyuubi muttered something about being a male version of a certain redhead, confusing Naruto. They had willingly accepted him, no questions asked, though they seemed like an odd bunch of people. Naruto didn't mind the atmosphere they had given off. A bunch of friendly people who seemed to not to have a care in the world, even though the weight of the world rested on their shoulders from time to time. Naruto couldn't stop laughing when Nagi tried to pet Kyuubi, only for the fox to bite the poor man's finger. The redhead wouldn't stop crying about it for minutes. But that was hours ago. Now they were protecting a tower within Vesperia where a certain Princess of the Dusk was. He was put into a group with Takemichi and himself. They were to run interference on the ground on the west side. Rakan took the south, while Kyuubi, Four Tails, had the east. Getu the north. Nagi, Al and Ishin all went to the tower. Naruto-kun, Takemichi shouted. This had gotten the attention of the blonde. They're coming. Looking up, Naruto saw black demon-like birds, with black feathers covering them and large talons. Got it. Bakamaiki, stand next to me. His fellow apprentice jumped back and stood back to back with him. 4 points on the ground around them were lit with a dark purple light. As the demons came closer, Naruto shouted, "Particle beam, anti-air." A pillar of black and purple energy shot out from each of the 4 points of light. Those who got close to them were instantly destroyed. Looking over his shoulder, Naruto nodded his head and the older boy ran forward towards the rampaging monsters coming towards them. The white-haired man put his hands into his pockets, and seemingly punched the monsters from afar. They all staggered back and dispersed. This had Naruto whistling. Damn Bakamaiki, that was pretty cool. Can you please stop calling me that, Naruto-kun? Takemichi's sweat dropped. And that was nothing compared to my sensei's skill. Hey, I'm practically the same way. Naruto waved his left hand and a barrage of silver energy hit the demons from the back and pulled them closer to him. Naruto then began to generate electricity through both hands, before swinging them forward at the demons that were hit by the silver energy. Cosmic Ray. He let the electricity free from his hands with a crack, destroying 5 demons in the process. Sadly though, my moves aren't exactly the same as his. It's okay, Naruto-kun, Takemichi replied while destroying a few demons. It makes you different from him. Besides, having a copy of that man would have been bad. I like to think of you as of now as the one and only Naruto Uzumaki. My friend. Takemichi did a punch and destroyed yet another demon. Thanks, Bakamaiki. That means a lot, Naruto smirked. The blonde let the same orange aura cover him again, before doing 5 punches to the demon in front of him, before kicking it upward with 3 kicks, and finishing it with a single punch, sending it crashing into a group of demons. By the way, Naruto-kun, why do you keep calling me Bakamaiki? Takemichi asked. It's my nickname for you. Besides, you're like me, aren't you? We both have no talent in what we do, so we're both idiots. Naruto laughed before sending a small fire into a group of demons, lighting them ablaze, but not strong enough to destroy them. He followed it up by sending down a small iceberg, and finished the move with a barrage of lightning. Takemichi couldn't help but laugh at the boy's reasoning. The two kept at it, Naruto protecting Takemichi's back and the older man doing the same thing with him. Suddenly the two were forced to stop fighting as a giant tremor shook the ground. This caused several demons to stop as well to regain balance. The pair of freedom fighters looked up and saw a giant glowing demon in front of them. "Don't think Negi and the others could get here fast enough, right?" Naruto asked. "Nope." This caused Naruto to sigh and curse. "Well damn, I didn't want to use this move. I haven't gotten it perfected yet." Naruto sighed. "What move are you talking about, Naruto-kun?" Takemichi asked. Naruto didn't respond but closed his eyes. The orange aura that he continuously used to power up his attacks engulfed his body, and blinded Takemichi. When the light died down, Takemichi saw that Naruto had transformed. He looked more monstrous than some of the things they were fighting. Naruto's skin had become increasingly tanned, more so than his master's color. His shirt was gone, showing off his torso, but it was more muscled than what a 9-year-old should have. His shoulders were broader and had monstrous spikes coming from the left shoulder. His left arm had become large and clawed. His right arm had become clawed as well, but it didn't enlarge. Down the sides of his right leg were the same spikes. Naruto's hair had become a snow white and had gained length going past his shoulder blades. But what scared Takemichi were his eyes. The sclera had become black and the irises a pure white with no pupils. "Damn," Naruto muttered, still not used to this. "Transformation still hurts a bit." "Naruto-kun, what happened?" "Not now. I'll explain after I handle that guy." Naruto pointed at the large demon in front of them. Naruto went into a crouch, and then jumped up into the sky. He passed the demon in height before stopping in midair. The orange aura surrounded him again, but wisps of black mixed into it. When the demon looked at him and raised his arm to attack, Naruto shot forward with his enlarged left arm in front of him. Flames ignited around him and he slammed into the demon's throat, choking it. He pushed it back with all his might while letting loose a loud roar. Triumphant grasp. Naruto stopped choking it, before giving it a punch full of his energy, dispelling it. When it was gone, Naruto landed next to Takemichi, and transformed back into himself. He was out of breath and was greedily taking in large amounts of oxygen. "Naruto-kun, are you alright?" Takemichi asked, hurrying to his side. Naruto nodded as he tried to calm himself down. "What did you do?" "I went into X mode," Naruto finally answered when he was able to. "One of 4 I can currently use, out of the 10 available for me to learn. That was final Eon mode. I gain more strength and certain abilities, different for each form. Sadly I can only use one for 3 minutes at a time, and have to wait 10 minutes to use them again. That one I just needed to use because I needed an overpowering attack to destroy the thing." Naruto then started to laugh. "But man, that was a rush. I mean, did you see that? I was almost flying." "You sure are a weird one, Naruto-kun," Takemichi laughed alongside the blonde. When they calmed down, they saw a large blast of red energy from the east going into the sky, destroying several of the giant demons. Takemichi was trembling a little bit. "That is a lot of demonic energy." "Hey, that's only half of Q's power, sadly," Naruto sighed. "He can't go full power or else I'll go into a coma." "What do you mean, Naruto-kun? Last time he went 9 tails I was out for a month. Seems like my bond to his energy is rather strong, and I get the strain from it if he uses too much." "Or that's what the old geezer told me," Naruto sighed. The two saw a ball of light being shot into the air and raised their eyebrows. When it reached its apex, it burst into a firework with an image of a chibi Nagi doing a victory sign. This caused the 2 apprentices to sweat drop. "Well, ain't someone arrogant?" He. "Yes, Nagi-san has always been like that. But it seems as if we won." "Sweet," Naruto said with a cheeky grin. Naruto got up shakily and almost fell, but Takemichi came to his aid. Naruto leaned onto his new friend for support. "Have you ever teleported before?" No. "Did you have dinner a while back?" "No." "Why does it matter, Naruto-kun?" Naruto shook his head and concentrated some magic to form around them. A sky blue ring appeared beneath their feet. "Just asking," Naruto laughed. The two then fell into the ring and Takemichi let out a scream, before they disappeared from sight with a pop. Within the tower, "That apprentice of yours is keeping my apprentice," Geto said as he smoked his cigarette. He was looking at Rakan as the man leaned against the wall. "TCH, I bet it's your apprentice that is causing my apprentice to get here late," Rakan shot back. "Takemichi is always on time. Your apprentice may have taken up your habits on being late. Please, he's rarely late to anything, the only thing he does is whine and complain, but he's at his destination at the right time. Naruto is punctual like that." Rakan and Gedu glared at each other and the rest of the Ala Rubra could see lightning clash in between the space they were glaring. Do you think we should stop them? I mean before they start to fight around here? Alberio asked Negi in a whisper. If that is how people will act if they have an apprentice, I don't want one then, Negi stated. The argument started to escalate and it seemed like the two were about to start casting spells when Rakan stopped. He stared at the floor as a sky blue ring appeared. From out of the ring Naruto and Takemichi appeared. Naruto holding onto Takemichi for support, and Takemichi screaming like a girl. You can stop screaming now Bakamaiki, Naruto laughed. Takemichi looked around and saw that they were with the rest of Ala Rubra. Clearing his throat Takemichi looked away with a blush on his cheeks. Naruto and the rest of the group chuckled. You took that pretty well though. Most people faint when they experience that kind of teleportation. Good you guys could make it. What took you so long? Gedu asked. Sorry I lost some power before teleporting here, Naruto apologized. So it was your fault you were late. You could say that. Naruto saw Gedu smirk at Rakan, and Rakan just rolled his eyes. So did you save the princess, Negi? Of course I did, Negi said puffing out his chest. What type of hero would I be if I couldn't? A terrible one if you ask me, Kyuubi, back in his small form, stated as he jumped onto Naruto's shoulder. Though you have some very impressive skills, I've got to hand that to you. That means a lot coming from a fuzzball, Naruto chuckled. Kyuubi used his tail and whacked Naruto on the back of the head. Ow. So do we get to meet the girl? Yeah, she's over here, Negi lead them to the center of the tower. I hope she isn't as bad as Theodora. If she's as crazy, high-strung and bossy as her I think I should just leave right now, Naruto thought. They were led into an open area with several columns holding up the ceiling. Naruto's eyes looked around and landed on the person in the middle of the room. There was a girl that seemed to be around 7 years old, with white and blue robes. Her orange hair was separated into 2 ponytails. Her left eye was blue, and the right one was green. He nearly stopped dead in his tracks when he saw how lifeless they were. Naruto began to growl, when he saw chains on the girl's arms and legs. When the group got to the girl Negi stopped and introduced her to them. Guys, I would like you to meet, Asuna Vesperina Theodonasia and Theofushia. Asuna, this is the Ala Rubra, Negi stated. Asuna looked at each of them one by one, trying to remember their faces. Naruto blushed when her eyes met his and looked away. This is where the real mission starts, guys. We are going to protect her for a while. How long is a while? Rakan asked. A year or two, Negi replied nonchalantly as he took off her shackles. Naruto didn't know whether to be happy or irritated. Great. A year or two with a girl who makes me blush when I look at her, what the hell does that mean? Next to him, Kyuubi saw Naruto blushing and smirked. He, well this is cute. The kid thinks someone's pretty. Ha, maybe he'll get over that pink-haired banshee at this rate. What are you doing? A female voice echoed in the nearly empty room in which Naruto was staying in. Looking up from the book in his hands, Naruto stared at the Princess of the Dusk, or rather Asuna, though she was upside down since she was at the foot of the bed he was lying on. Reading a manga, why do ya ask? Naruto asked the girl as he righted himself so he could sit in lotus position. For the past 2 months he had been traveling with the Ala Rubra and the girl in front of him. Naruto had noticed 2 very important things. One was to never volunteer to stay by yourself to guard Asuna while the others went out to gather info. Naruto slammed his head into the wall when he found out the guys had just gone to a bar and drank their butts off, Kyuubi included. The second thing he had learned was that this Asuna girl barely knew anything about the world, just like how he didn't when he had first arrived. That was the reason the group had left them together the most often, so they can bond. This had led him to calling the girl Asuna-chan. Little by little as Naruto spent time with her, and Asuna with everyone else including the blonde, he noticed that the once lifeless eyes of the girl had gained some fire in them. She even went and showed up Takemichi, by activating Kenkaho on her first try compared to the older teen. Though his feelings for the girl were complicated, he liked her, almost as much as he liked Sakura. He would blush when she smiled her rare smiles at him or when she got a little too close. He even wanted to comfort her when she cried that one time she scraped her knee, but she went to Negi for that. His dilemma was a little frustrating and the teasing he got from all personnel of the Ala Rubra didn't help. What is manga? Asuna asked, tilting her head to the side. Naruto raised a questioning brow before motioning her to take a spot next to her. The 7-year-old sat down next to him as he opened his book. You see, a manga is a Japanese comic and has a story, cool characters and a lot of other things too. The one I am reading right now is called Dragon Ball. Naruto made a point by showing her the front cover with a picture of a young boy with a monkey tail and a very odd hairstyle. It's about that boy on the cover, and his name is Goku. He and his friend Bulma are out looking for these things called Dragon Balls that are said to grant wishes if you brought them together. So far I'm only on chapter 5. Why do you read it? Because it is fun. That and it helps me escape from the idiocy of both my senseis, Naruto shrugged. Want to read with me? The girl leaned in to get a better look, and her face was right next to Naruto's, causing the blonde to blush. Asuna looked at the page Naruto was for a few seconds before her face scrunched up. Is there a problem, Asuna-chan? What are those squiggly lines? She asked, pointing out the kanji written in text bubbles. Those are words. What do they say? Can't you read Japanese? Naruto asked. Asuna shook her head. No. I'll have to teach you before I leave. Meaning? Naruto closed his book and placed it into a pocket on his pants. The entire book seemed to fit into it, and that was entirely true because Naruto had made a connection between his pants and a pocket dimension where he kept his things. He then turned to Asuna, who was staring at him curiously. I have to find something else that both of us can do. Naruto got off the bed and paced around trying to come up with something the two of them could do together. Naruto stopped when he looked out the window and saw a park across from the hotel the group was staying at. Let's go out for a walk, nay. In the park. Naruto blushed the entire time the two had walked in the park. Why was he blushing? It was because Asuna had wrapped her little hand around his, even going as far as entwining their fingers. Naruto's face was a dark crimson as she walked alongside him, a small smile on her face, oblivious to the predicament the blonde was in. Naruto, what's that? Asuna asked, pointing at the playground in the middle of the park. Specifically, she was pointing at the swings. Those are swings, Asuna-chan, Naruto replied. He felt the girl tighten her hold on his hand. Looking down, he saw her heterochromatic eyes looking at him pleadingly. You want to go play on them? Asuna nodded her head. Well, let's go then. Naruto led her to the swings. She sat down on one of the two swings, while he took the other. Slowly Naruto kicked off and was swinging back and forth. The blonde mage felt the cool air go through his hair, and the breeze caress his face, remembering his experience of being nearly able to fly when going into his forms. Naruto, Asuna called out. Naruto turned his head to look at the girl, and almost laughed as she attempted to kick off the ground. Asuna kicked off but couldn't get enough momentum in her swing and only moved an inch forward. I think this is broken, Asuna pouted. Naruto snickered a bit, before stopping his swings. Getting off the device, he plopped down behind Asuna. Okay, Asuna-chan, since you don't know how to do this, I'll help you, okay? Asuna nodded. Good, hold on to the ropes, I wouldn't want you falling off the thing. Asuna nodded again. Ready. The girl grasped the ropes, signaling Naruto to start. Slowly he pushed the girl forwards on the swing. She went up, then came back down, where Naruto pushed her forward again. This kept going on until Asuna had gotten enough speed to stay up by herself. All the while Naruto was laughing, and having a good time. Not knowing his own strength, Naruto accidentally put too much force into his next swing. The blonde watched in horror as the girl rocketed out of the swing and onto the grass of the park. She rolled for a few seconds before coming to a stop. Asuna-chan. Naruto rushed up to the girl, and was afraid he had hurt her by doing that. When he approached, he heard a muffled noise coming from her. At first he thought it was crying and was going to apologize, yet he was proven wrong by what it actually was. Asuna was giggling. Naruto stopped dead in his tracks as the girl turned over and was giggling her heart out. Can we do that again, Naruto? Asuna giggled and sent a smile in his direction. The blonde felt his heart skip a beat and blushed. Sure, Naruto replied. So the two then spent the rest of that day playing on the swings, watching clouds and hanging out at the park. When it came to lunch, Naruto paid for some sandwiches, soda and an ice cream for each of them. He became even more flustered when Asuna licked a dribble of ice cream that rolled onto his chin. By the end of the day, he had carried her piggyback all the way back to the hotel since she fell asleep. When the Ala Rubra did return from actual information gathering, they found the two asleep next to each other. Naruto hugging Asuna, and Asuna returning the favor. Jack and Negi had decided to commemorate the moment by taking a picture of the two hugging, even more so when Asuna snuggled up to Naruto, who tightened his grip in response. 2 months later, month 4. Okay kid, show me what you got, Rakan stated as he brandished a large sword in his hands that came from his pactio. In Naruto's hand was his own newly made pactio with Rakan. When the blonde had read about pactios and the fact that you needed something to make the contract real, he lost his lunch when he read he had to kiss the person. Asuna had been kind enough to soothe his back by massaging it. The situation got better when Alberio said that they could make a blood pact instead of kissing. Naruto gladly took that offer and shook bloodied hands with his sensei within a Pactio circle, resulting in Naruto's Pactio. "Okay old man, here I come," Naruto shot back. At the sidelines the Negi, Alberio, Kyuubi and Getu were placing bets on how long Naruto would last against Rakan using his new artifact. Asuna was watching with an excited look and Takemichi was hoping for his friend to meet his master's expectations. A flash of light covered the boy, and died down a second later. When everyone could get a good look at what was in Naruto's hands, they were a bit curious at what the artifact could do. It was a bow, with 2 blades acting as the body and had no string. It was made of some sort of black metal, with gold designs running down the bottom side of the blade. "So this is the chaotic trump Naruto mumbled to himself. "When are we going to start, Naruto?" Rakan asked almost impatiently. Naruto glared at Rakan before taking in a deep breath. Gripping the middle portion of the bow with his left, Naruto drew back his right hand as if he was really stringing a bow. Suddenly in front of him, a glowing arrow about the size of the boy himself appeared. Making sure he had a clean shot, Naruto released his breath and let go of the attack. Straight arrow. The magical arrow shot out from the bow and sped towards Rakan. The buff man smirked and slashed the magical arrow in half. Naruto, not even being fazed by what the man did, ran forward to attack his sensei head-on. "Hey, seems like you're losing your head, kid. Attacking me head-on," Jack taunted. The big man swung his blade towards his young apprentice, and was met with defiance as the 2 weapons met. The 2 weren't even deadlocked, seeing as Naruto wasn't as strong as his teacher physically. So this had the blonde flying backwards from the force of his sensei's attack. "Crap," Naruto shouted as he kept flying backwards. The boy decided to try to stop his movements by stabbing the bladed bow into the ground. This had the intended effect and he was able to stop his movement. After righting himself, Naruto stared at his weapon and frowned. "How can I beat him with just a bow? I need something to attack with that is faster." As if the bow was listening to his voice, the body of the bow broke in half and the blades miniaturized, becoming 2 ebony knives. One had teeth on the side, and the other was curved. "Well now, that's odd," Naruto said to himself. Holding both knives in a reverse grip, Naruto suddenly felt his body feel lighter. "Ready, you old fart." "Who are you calling an old fart?" Jack snapped back comically. Within a second Naruto had disappeared from sight, leaving a small cloud of smoke where he used to be. The group watched as Jack immediately turned around and brought his blade to block the first of 2 knives flying in his direction, before punching to his right where Naruto had suddenly appeared. Again the boy was sent flying back, but Naruto was able to right himself in midair and land on his feet. The knife on the floor suddenly appeared in his empty hand in a black light, causing Naruto to smirk. "Well, seems like this thing listens to my commands mentally too." Placing both knives into his left hand, the blades glowed a black light again before reforming into katana made of the same black metal and gold engravings, that was about as tall as the boy himself. Bringing up the weapon to eye level and holding it outward towards Rakan, Naruto asked, "Are you ready?" "Am I ready?" "Ready for what?" Rakan asked curiously. Naruto smirked as he did a slash in the empty air, and multiple energy beams shaped in the same arc as the slash shot out. Rakan blocked all the beams with his sword and was about to retaliate when Naruto was already in front of him, bringing down his blade. The big man felt numerous tiny cuts going into his body after that one swing, but swatted away Naruto yet again. Touching his now cut cheek, Rakan smiled. "That's a very interesting Pactio you got there. Very well suited for battle." "Well, it did come from you of all people," Negi laughed. The rest laughed with him, but Naruto was too busy focusing on how to change his weapon once again. Switching it from his left into his right hand, the katana transformed into a double-edged great sword. It was so big that Naruto tripped due to the weight. "Oh come on, I can't even lift this thing and they expect me to use it." Naruto whined as he tried to lift up the heavy blade. "You think he is compensating for something?" Alberio said aloud to tease the blonde. "I mean, first it was a bow that could shoot out white magical arrows, then 2 daggers that sped him up, an unnecessarily long katana, now a big broadsword." Again everyone was laughing, save for Naruto, Takemichi and Asuna. Naruto was blushing a nice peach color due to anger and embarrassment. Takemichi was also embarrassed while covering the very innocent ears of Asuna. Kyuubi was literally rolling on the floor laughing his furry butt off. "Oh shut up will you?" Naruto roared as he reformed the weapon into a staff. It was about taller than Naruto and had kept the same design as the previous weaponry. Again he heard laughter coming from the sidelines. Placing it in front of him, Naruto roared out a spell. Quake. Naruto slammed the end of the staff into the ground, causing a large earthquake to occur. From underneath Rakan, a large pillar of earth slammed into the man. Following up on the attack, Naruto pointed the staff in the direction of his sensei. Tornado. A furious gale swooped up the man and slammed him from side to side, but Naruto wasn't done yet. Raising the staff into the air, Naruto gave another command. Freeze. From above, Rakan, an iceberg fell on the man and slammed him into the ground. Naruto, however, couldn't see if he won or not, as he fell to the ground unconscious. To his side, the Pactio turned back into a card and fell into his hand. Naruto-kun. Asuna screamed as she ran up to him. Placing his head into her lap, she tried to see what had happened to him. When Alberio crouched down next to her, he did a once-over and stood up again. Is he going to be okay? Asuna asked, worried for her friend. He will be all right, princess, the sarcastic cosplay-loving mage replied. He just exhausted himself after using 3 powerful spells. He will be up in no time. Do you think you can take him to the bench so he can lie down? When did the little princess start caring for the brat? Nagi asked, ruffling her hair. Asuna blushed but didn't answer. All right, fine. We'll take him back to the hotel, but you have to take care of him, okay? Asuna nodded gratefully when Gedu picked up the boy. The iceberg in which Rakan was in broke apart and the man was shivering. Have to say, Brat knows his magic, Rakan said through clattering teeth. So how long was the fight? Kyuubi raised up a watch with one of his tails that showed the time it took to fight. 5 minutes, and 45 seconds, the demon fox sighed. Everyone save for Asuna let out a collective groan. Asuna was beaming happily. What, did she win? Rakan asked. Yeah, most of us bet under 5 minutes, Nagi explained, handing over a few $100, whatever currency they use in the magic world, to the girl, as well as the other members of the Ala Rubra. She was the only one who thought he could go more than that. Nagi cried anime tears as they walked towards the hotel. Asuna had a skip in her step but was still worried about her friend's condition. 4 months later, month 8. Naruto was in the forest swinging the Nodashi form of chaotic trump. The blonde had asked Aishin to help him learn to fight with it, but the man pointed at Naruto's original sensei. When Naruto turned to look, he saw that Rakan was drawing circles in the dirt with a dark rain cloud over his head. It was decided that Naruto couldn't ask anyone, except for Kyuubi, for any sort of training. So he had spent the past 4 months trying to get better used to his weapon on his own and was currently getting better at it. Though he may not be as good as Aishin with the sword, Naruto was proud of his skills with the blade. When Naruto found out that the blade in fact wasn't a katana, he had rifled through one of his tomes for help. One of the profiles from the tome of villains T.O.V. from now on was a skilled Nodashi user. Since the book didn't give out any names, just aliases, the blonde was trying to copy the style of the man known as the One-Winged Angel. Naruto spent hours trying to memorize each and every single move and stroke, the silver-haired man did. But due to his short stature, Naruto couldn't really do much yet. He could only produce some sword beams from his blade so far, and the only move he could do without problems was Scintilla. Okay, Kyuubi again, Naruto panted. The fox who was watching him nodded and dug his tail into a large boulder. Kyuubi had managed to learn a few spells of his own during their travels, and this was one of them. Dark mannequin, Kyuubi murmured. The boulder suddenly transformed and became a stone puppet that looked just like Nagi. Naruto thanked him and held the Nodashi in both hands and forward at eye level. Octoslash. The blade glowed a light vermilion, and then Naruto dashed forward. Naruto did 8 powerful slashes, all done in random directions, before stopping. The stone puppet then broke apart into 8 pieces. Falling to his knees, Naruto began to catch his breath. How long did it take to get ready this time? 5 seconds, that's 2 seconds faster from yesterday, Kyuubi yawned. Damn, the guy in the tome needed to charge the attack for 3 seconds. Naruto panted. Still have a ways to go. Don't push yourself too far, Kit. You have to remember that guy probably spent a very long time trying to get it down to that time. Kyuubi got up from his place on the ground and then jumped up onto Naruto's right shoulder. Besides, we don't want you getting too strong too fast. That lust for power is what drives men crazy. I know, Naruto replied. It's just that, I want to prove to all of them that I'm good enough to be part of the group. You've proved it already time and again, Kit. You've shown that you truly are Ala Rubra material. Kyuubi then noticed something in Naruto's eyes. A tiny gleam that he hasn't seen in a while. Or maybe, you just want to prove to that cute little princess you're strong enough to protect her. Like a knight in shining armor. When Naruto blushed, Kyuubi began to laugh. Kid, I approve of that girl. So if you want to go date her, go date her. But she's like 8 and I'm a 16-year-old in a 10-year-old body. I'm twice as old as she is. Age is but a number. Kyuubi waved his tail as if the matter they were speaking about was unimportant. Kyuubi then jumped off and looked Naruto dead in the eye. Kid, are you still holding onto your feelings for that Sakura girl? What's with the sudden question, Q? It's not sudden. I've been thinking of asking you this for a long time now. Do you still like that Sakura girl? Honestly, no. Naruto sighed as he took a seat next to his best friend of 4 years. These past few years had me thinking, and I was able to clearly think of my nearly non-existent love life. It took me 4 years of being away from her, 4 years away from home to finally realize that all I had for Sakura was a naive childhood crush. Running a hand through his hair, Naruto looked to the ground with another sigh. But these feelings for Asuna-chan, I don't know if they are true or not. I mean, spending time with both Ero Sennin and the old geezer had me realize that this may not be true love I feel for Asuna-chan. It may be that my crush for Sakura-chan had moved over to her. When the hell did you find time to think of something like this? Kyuubi asked with a questioning flick of the tail. When all of you are out, Asuna-chan is asleep and I'm not into reading anything at the moment, Naruto shrugged. But again, I don't know if this is just some naive crush or not. If you're not sure, then let me ask you a few questions, Kit. How did you feel when you were around the pink-haired banshee? Hey, I may not like her like that anymore, but I still consider Sakura-chan a friend. Kyuubi's tail extended and slapped Naruto across the head. Ow. Just answer the question, you idiot. Fine. Geez, and here I thought we were connecting. Naruto rubbed his now sore head. When I was around Sakura, well, it felt like I was obligated to make her happy. Sure, I was okay with her looking at me and all that, and I was really happy when we were put into the same squad, but then her punches really were damn painful. Naruto shivered, remembering feeling them, unconsciously rubbing his head. I think I found myself to feel obligated to her, because I've crushed on her for that long, you know. Kyuubi nodded his head. Now how do you feel when you are around the princess? When I'm with Asuna-chan. Naruto mumbled as he placed his finger to his chin as if to help him remember something. When I'm with her I don't know how it is like. I mean, I feel a lot of things when I'm with her. I feel like smiling when she's happy. I want to hold her when she cries. I want to make her laugh when she's feeling down. I feel like I want to rip Nagi's head off when he takes her away from me, but I always feel my heart skip a beat when she's near me. Naruto sighed again. That's how I feel. So what do you have to say, Kyuubi? No response. Q. Naruto turned his head towards his demon partner, who currently had his jaw agape. What's wrong, Q? You, Kyuubi replied as he composed himself. You have it bad. Only 3/4 of a year with her and you already feel like that towards her. Kyuubi said as he stood up and shook his head. I don't know whether to be proud or preparing for the waterworks, because you are madly in love with her. Naruto said aloud. How do you know? The other idiotic blonde was the same when courting his wife. Kyuubi mumbled. I meant to say that the 4th Hokage was the same way, you idiot. You knew the 4th. I mean, you knew the 4th, he sealed you up in me and all, but you knew him before that. You can say that. Anyway, I hope you know what you're getting your head into, kid, because one day I'll have to tell you about the birds and the bees. The what? Naruto asked, confused. He scratched the back of his head to emphasize the point. What the hell do birds and bees have to do with love? Maybe I should get Rakan to teach you. That perverted man can probably explain a lot better than I can. Kyuubi got up and began to walk away. Hey, you never told me about what birds and bees have to do with love. Naruto shouted after him. From behind the bushes, Rakan and Negi had recording equipment and were listening to every single piece of info the blonde had said. Aw, ain't that cute. The boy finally found someone he loves, Rakan said with tears of pride for his young apprentice. Negi was doing the exact same thing, but was wiping them away on his black sleeve. I hope that when I get a kid he turns out like him, Negi sniffled. Just not stupid, right? Negi nodded. 4 months later, end of year. Why do you have to go, Naruto-kun? Asuna asked through her sobs. Rakan and Kyuubi stood a ways away behind the blonde as he faced the girl in front of him. Behind Asuna stood the rest of the Alarubra. I don't see why you have to go. I mean, Negi can teach you magic, right? Asuna-chan. Naruto whispered. He took in a deep breath before looking at her again. Asuna-chan, my place is with the old geezer, not with you guys, at least not right now. We have to get back. Jobs need to be done and they won't be able to do it themselves. But the rest of the group can go with you, right? Asuna-chan, the Ala Rubra is a very helpful group, but Rakan and I work our own business this way. Can't I at least go with you? Please, she pleaded. Every second of this conversation was hurting Naruto. He hated it when she was crying. This time was different since he was the source of her pain. Sorry Asuna-chan, you were entrusted to Negi, not us. Suddenly he was forcefully hugged by the girl in front of him. Asuna-chan. Please don't go Naruto-kun, she cried into his chest. I don't want to Asuna-chan, but I have to. Naruto was comforting the small girl in his arms. Suddenly Naruto thought of an idea. Hey Al, can you make a Pactio circle for me? Huh, why do you want one Naruto? Alberio asked, even though he had already made the circle as if it was nothing. The blonde dragged Asuna into the circle and placed her in front of him. Asuna was giving him a confused look before Naruto did something she nor the rest of the people were expecting. He crashed his lips down onto hers. The circle glowed a bright light before dying down. All the while everyone was too shocked to do anything. Naruto then moved around and shifted his position so he was standing where Asuna was previously, before placing another kiss on her lips. The action granted the same response by the circle. And Naruto? Asuna asked, touching her lips lightly. Naruto reached down and showed her two Pactio cards. One was of him, and the other was her. Naruto's showed him looking normal, except there was a single necklace around his neck. Behind him were 6 silhouettes of different people. Asuna's showed her holding a large maroon hexagonal shield with 10 blue jewels and gold engravings of wings on it. Mumbling a few words, Naruto made a copy of each. Holding out 2 of the Pactios of Asuna to the girl, Naruto began to explain himself. Here, take this as the original and a copy of the Pactio you had made with me. Asuna's eyes widened when she heard that. Does that mean you're my partner? Naruto smiled at her and nodded. But why are you giving me the original? I want you to write a message on it. A message for me to read, and only for me. I'm going to be doing the same to your copy. Asuna nodded for a moment and walked away, asking Geto for a pen. Naruto did the same, producing a pen of his own. On the back of the Pactio where his name was, Naruto wrote his message to the girl. After he was done, the two met up in the center again and traded the copies. Don't look at it until you're away, okay? Asuna told him. Naruto nodded. The blonde then went up to Takemichi, who was regarding his friend with respect. Bakamaiki, take care of her for me, will you? Of course, Naruto. The two shook hands, before Naruto and Asuna shared one final hug before they separated to their respectful groups. Naruto shot one last glance towards Asuna, who did the exact same thing, before they left. When Rakan, Naruto and Kyuubi were a mile away, Rakan spoke up. So what does the Pactio say, kid? The tanned man asked. Reaching into his back pocket, he pulled out the original copy of the Pactio he made with Asuna. Looking at the card, Naruto already felt sad for leaving the girl. Turning it over, he read what was written on it. There were just 8 simple words that made him cry. They said, "With this our hearts will always be connected." Damn, she sure knows how to leave an impression, Naruto stated as he wiped the tears from his eyes. What did you write on hers? Kyuubi asked from on top of Rakan's shoulder. Ask her when you meet her again. It's rather personal for me. With that, the three headed back to their home in the magical world. Time skip couple of months. I have some presents for you, Takemichi stated. In front of him was Asuna. Her hair was down and for some reason her eyes were nearly lifeless again. Presents. Asuna asked lifelessly. Yeah, one is from me, while the other is from an old friend of yours. Asuna looked up curiously before Takemichi gave her the gifts. These are from me. The things from him were a pair of bells that doubled as bows. He helped the girl tie up her hair in ponytails. And this was from a very close friend of ours. The second was a strange-looking card of a blonde boy in many silhouettes. When Asuna looked at the carefree smile of the boy, she felt her heart skip a beat. Is something wrong, Asuna-kun? Who is this boy? Asuna asked, and Takemichi noticed that her voice wavered a bit. Like I said, he is a close friend to both of us. Look at the back of the card for his name. Doing as she was told, Asuna turned the card over and found a name. Naruto Uzumaki, she mumbled. Her eyes drifted up when she found some writing on it. It said, "This card is proof of our bond. Whether it be from fiend or loneliness, I will always protect you." Just look at this card and know that I will always be there. Asuna-kun, what's wrong? Takemichi asked worriedly. Asuna looked at him confused again. You're crying. The girl reached up and touched her eyes, and indeed there were tears coming from them. Time skip couple of years, it is canon timeline. This is the proof of the contract. A white talking ermine told a now older Asuna. She looked to be around 15 years old, and was wearing rather casual clothing, compared to the robes she wore back then. Her eyes seemed so full of life and was much more cheerful. She was currently shopping for clothes with her roommate, a hazel-haired girl named Kanoka Kono, and a teacher who looked like a miniature Negi, who looked around 10 years old. You mean this card is the proof of my pactio with Negi? Asuna asked, staring at the pactio of herself, with a giant sword. That's right, when you two smooched it was made. Asuna gagged when the ermine mentioned that she kissed the young boy. That's a cool card, Kanoka said out of nowhere, popping up between Asuna, the redhead, and the ermine. But I wonder why Negi-kun has one of Asuna. Does this mean she's your this? Kanoka wagged her pinky. What, no? Asuna flat out denied the comment. I hate little brats like him. She pointed at Negi. I think I've seen this somewhere before. Kanoka continued as she looked at the card. She then snapped her fingers, symbolizing she remembered something. You have one similar to this, Asuna. I do. She does. The now named Negi asked at the same time. Yeah, don't you remember, it's even on your binder. You know the card that you said was given to you by your old friend, Naruto, I think his name was. That's right. Asuna now remembered the card. It was given to her by Takemichi, which he said was given to her by a mutual friend of theirs. Now fully knowing what it was, Asuna blushed. I kissed someone before now, she thought, wondering just who the blonde boy was. Her hand traveled up to her lips and touched them lightly, trying to recall when it happened. Several of miles away. So Kit, where are we off to now? A fox with 3 tails asked. He was seated on the seat of a jet-black Kawasaki Ninja motorcycle that looked brand new. From out of a building a blonde man walked out. He looked roughly 17 years old. The blonde was wearing a black and white ensemble. A white long-sleeved shirt was underneath a black leather jacket with a hood, black pants and white sneakers. The odd thing was they were all outlined by the opposing color. There were whisker marks on his cheeks, 3 each. A pair of blue eyes looked at the open sky near the forest they were in. Using his gloved hand for shade, he stared at where the sun was currently positioned. What do you say about visiting Ishin? I haven't seen him in a while, the man asked. Hey, maybe get in some sword fighting Kyubi asked. Maybe. We can always do some jobs along the way too. Who knows? We may just find some pieces of the tomes like the last time I was here. What are we going to do after that, Naruto? Naruto smirked as he hopped onto the bike and placed a helmet onto his head. We visit Mahora. I wonder how Asuna-chan is doing. The girls of Mahora Academy Middle School, Class 3A, were all on the train home from their trip to Kyoto. Most of the people have been asleep for the entire time they have boarded the train from the station back in Kyoto, save for a few people. One of these people was a girl with raven hair done up in some sort of ponytail on the left, accompanied by a bang that covered the right side of her forehead, while the other side was exposed. Her matching black eyes watching the skies above as they traveled back to their school. This was Satsuna Sakurazaki, a half-demon of the crow variety. The girl's eyes then turned to her sleeping companion, a girl with long brown hair whose head was asleep on her shoulder. This was her Ojoyu-sama, Kanoka Kono. After all those years of getting stronger and protecting her within the shadows, she was finally able to speak to her longtime friend after so long. She smiled and then looked at her 2 new friends who sat across the aisle from them. A red-headed 10-year-old boy was sleeping in the same position as Kanoka was on, an orange-haired girl. Negi Springfield and Asuna Kagarazaka, those 2 were the ones who made this all possible. She'd have to thank them later. Satsuna then turned her attention back towards the sky, until she felt something. Something was on the bullet train home. Something not human. She couldn't pinpoint where it was on the train, but she felt it. Tiny pulses of demonic energy were being sent throughout the entire train, as if it were walking around freely. Satsuna stood up and gently laid her sleeping friend onto the seat she previously occupied before walking into the aisle. You felt it too, Sakurazaki. A voice came from behind her. Turning her head around, Satsuna saw Mana Tatsumiya, a tall dark-skinned girl wearing the same class uniform, standing behind her. Her black eyes seemed to be scanning the compartment. Hi, there seems to be a very weak demon on the train, Satsuna replied. Are you going to hunt after it? I'm not getting paid, so I'll leave it to you. Mana then turned around and went into the bathroom stall in that compartment. Satsuna sighed at the other girl's demeanor about being paid to do anything. She grabbed her wrapped-up nodashi and went into the next compartment of the train. Just as she closed the door behind her, she felt a force impact her, sending her and whoever it was to the floor. Ow! A young boy's voice groaned. Satsuna looked up to find a boy who looked close to Negi's age. It was a boy with blonde hair that was in unruly spikes, as his blue eyes nearly glared at her for bumping into him. He was wearing a dark blue short-sleeve jacket, a black t-shirt, black tennis shoes and dark blue pants, that had gotten dirty from him falling to the floor. "Nei-chan, you hit me," the boy complained. "Ah, I'm sorry," Satsuna apologized as she stood up and bowed. She offered her hand to the boy and he took it willingly. He glared and pouted. "Are you okay?" "I'm fine." He then dusted himself off before looking around the compartment. "Hey Nei-chan, have you seen a fox around?" The question made Satsuna raise an eyebrow. Who gives a boy a pet fox? "He's about this big." The boy made a motion with his arms about how small the fox he was looking for was. "Has dark red fur like your skirt, and likes to run around a lots and get peeks up girls' skirts." This shout had gotten the attention of other people on the train. Sorry, no," Satsuna apologized. "I'm sorry, but I'm busy right now. If it were some other time I'd be more than willing to help." "It's okay Nei-chan," the little boy pouted. He then walked off into the cart she was previously in. As the door was closing she heard the boy say something that caught her attention. "Excuse me old man, have you seen a two-tailed fox running around here?" Satsuna's eyes suddenly widened. She turned around and opened the door, and found a sensei from her school, Nida, telling the boy that there were no two-tailed foxes. Are you sure Ojii-san? The boy was scratching his head in confusion. "I'm sure my fox has 2 tails. Sometimes he even has 9. Did you have too many sweets, little boy? As for the matter, where are your parents?" Nida asked. "I don't have any parents Ojii-san," the boy hung his head. This made Nida and Satsuna both flinch. "I'm here with my pet fox, on the way to my Ojii-chan. Will you help me look for my pet fox though?" "I'm sorry to hear that, but I'm busy. Maybe someone will help you." "I'll do it," Satsuna interrupted as she walked up to the two. Nei-chan, didn't you say you were busy?" the little boy questioned. "I already did what I needed to do," Satsuna answered him while smiling. "There you go young man, Sakurazaki-san here will help you," Nida told him. "Aw thank you Ojii-san, Nei-chan." The blonde boy beamed, his smile making the two people with him smile too. So with that the two young ones walked and began looking for the boy's lost pet. "I heard that you said that your fox had more than 1 tail, is that true?" Satsuna asked as they walked into the next compartment. "Yeah, he has 2 tails. Hugh can also get more tails and grow bigger. He had 5 tails once and was the size of a bus." The boy shouted happily. "So this boy has a fox demon as a pet," Satsuna thought with a frown. "Where did you get Hugh, you called him?" "Ah, the old geezer gave him to me. We've been together since I was a baby." They were searching through the compartment where another class was in and went around asking if the girls had seen the fox. Some of the middle school girls squealed when they saw the young boy, pinching his cheeks whenever they can. All of them were asking if he had any relation to Satsuna, and if not they asked if he was related to Ayaka Yukihiro, the class president of Satsuna's class. Both of which the Shinmei Ryu user denied. It took a hellish for the boy 10 minutes before they made it out through the other side of the cabin. "You girls are scary." "It's not polite to say that to girls," Satsuna said with a frown and a sigh. "But it's true. I mean they kept pinching my cheeks." The little boy complained, rubbing his now sore cheeks. "I think one of them tried to suffocate me in one of those hugs too." The boy kept pouting, and each time he did Satsuna tried not to laugh or, at his face. The two then reached the last compartment that had no one inside. Suddenly they heard a small noise coming from in front of them. Looking down the hallway, a small red fox came running down before jumping up onto its perch on the boy's shoulder. "Hugh, where have you been?" The fox gave a yip and the boy nodded. "Looking up girls' skirts again, weren't you?" Satsuna was surprised when the fox looked like it smirked. Then the girl remembered that the fox was trouble. She then noticed that the fox did have 2 tails. Can I see your fox for a bit? Are you going to pet him?" The boy looked at her with questioning innocent eyes. Yes," Satsuna answered, even though it came out as a question. The fox whispered something into the boy's ears and his eyes widened. "You're trying to take Q from me," the boy accused Satsuna. "I won't let you take him." "How? Her eyes then focused on the fox who was staring at her with darkened eyes. Satsuna made a grab for her sword and almost drew it on them. Get away from the boy, you demon. Don't call Q a demon, the boy defended the fox. The boy then looked her in the eye with a smirk on his face. He's a demon lord. Before she knew what happened, she was pinned to the wall of the compartment. A tail held both arms over her head, while a pair kept her legs bound. Look, Q started to speak in a calm manner. You have nothing to fear, girl. I'm just here to take care of this brat, and then I go back home. You can stop calling me a brat, you know. I can take care of myself. Says the kid who burnt rice. Whose fault was it when they decided to make me run laps around our house for no reason? Whose fault is it they have a terrible memory? The fox growled. You want to take this outside? We're in a moving train, you idiot. If we go outside you'd fall to your death. The fox smirked when the boy opened and closed his mouth several times, before scowling and glaring at him. Point for the fox, brat. A cough broke the two from their argument. The fox and the boy then remembered they had a captive. Sorry, the two said in unison. What are you doing on this train? Satsuna demanded, giving the two her finest glare. To be honest, we're going to a bike shop, the boy frowned. The stupid fox over here made me crash my motorcycle. I didn't mean to jump off to chase that squirrel, it just happened, the fox complained. Wait, you have a motorcycle? Satsuna asked disbelievingly. Hey Ne-chan, I'm actually older than I look. I just used this look to get a discount on my ticket. The cute factor helps when you need some stuff, the boy smirked. Besides, I wouldn't have gotten on this train with Kyubi here if I didn't turn up the cuteness. What are you going to do to me? Satsuna asked. She gulped when the fox gave her a perverted leer. Well, I'd like to. Kyubi started to talk, but the boy slapped hand to muzzle his mouth. No you don't, you Ero Yoko. I swear if you try to get in her pants, I'm taking away your supply of booze for a week, the little boy threatened. You wouldn't. Watch me. I mean you won't be able to buy it yourself. The blonde smirked when he saw the fox glaring at him. Point for the handsome one, fox. He then turned back to Satsuna who was looking at them. Honestly, I'm just going to let you go. Far too busy to do anything at the moment. Besides, taking girls against their will isn't my cup of tea, you hear. We have arrived at XX station. Passengers, please gather your bags and have a great day, the announcer said. This is our stop. The boy nodded towards his fox, and the fox dropped Satsuna onto a chair. He then walked towards the door with a smirk on his face. See you around, Satsuna-chan. The boy then disappeared into the ever-increasing cloud of smoke. Satsuna sighed and gathered her blade before going back into her compartment, where Mana was waiting with a curious look. You let him get away, the gunslinging girl stated. You could have helped, Satsuna told the girl. Not getting paid, unless of course you wanted me to put it on your tab. Satsuna glared at Mana, causing the girl to put her hands up in a defensive motion. The two walked casually back into their compartment when Mana asked, Do you know that boy by any chance? I don't. Why do you ask? He called you by your first name. That's relevant how? No one calls you by your first name, save for Kanoka and the teachers of course, but they do that rarely. Satsuna frowned, trying to remember if she was called by her first name throughout the entire train trip. She then realized that she wasn't. Which then led to her thinking, how does that boy know my name? Satsuna sat down after a short greeting from a now awakened Kanoka. Her hand unconsciously went to her chest, where a necklace of a blackened angel wing hung. Scene change. Who would have thought that two of the people I met up with before would have gone to the same school? The boy asked Kyubi. The fox jumped off his shoulder as the boy entered a bathroom stall. A bright flash of light came from it, and out walked a 17-year-old Naruto wearing the exact same clothes as the boy, except the shirt and shoes was white, and the jacket and pants were black. 2. Kyubi looked up at Naruto as they walked next to each other. Asuna was on that train. Oh, why didn't you talk to her then? I mean you two must have a lot to catch up on. She was asleep. Besides, I was more concerned about seeing Satsuna-chan. You mean you knew that girl we scared? Kyubi asked as he jumped onto the teen's shoulder. How do you know her? Naruto shrugged. I met her a couple years back. Spent a week in the woods together. Oh, I didn't know you got wild in the woods with a girl you just met, and for a whole week too. Kyubi grinned. Pretty bold, I must say. How come you never told me and Rakan this? I bet you got down and dirty with each other in the woods, tearing each other's clothes off. By now the teen was blushing a bright red, thinking of the implications Kyubi was saying. No, it wasn't like that. Really now, what was it like? It wasn't wild and passionate. Kyubi asked. Kid, I have lost faith in you. I didn't have sex with Satsuna. Naruto shouted at the fox. His face stained completely red from embarrassment. Naruto stopped when he felt the gaze of many people looking at him after that statement. Mothers were covering children's ears and glared at him. Businessmen gave him a disgusted look when he said something so brash out loud. Some guys were shaking their heads as if they were disappointed that he didn't have sex with the girl that they didn't know, and those unfortunate enough were whacked on the back of the head by their female counterparts. Naruto then decided to hightail it out of there and ran away from the onlooking crowd. Oh, Kyuubi started to laugh when Naruto stopped and sat on a park bench. I never was speaking about sex, Kit. I was talking about training. I mean, I knew you were training alone in the human world for a month a couple years back, and you told me you met up with someone you sparred with for a while. I just guessed that was when you met her. When did I mention sex? Kyuubi let the smirk on his face grow wider as Naruto pounded his head into the arm of the bench next to them. 2. 1 Kit. I hate you, Naruto groaned. He then got up rubbing his head, and began walking towards the business district. That mage mechanic better do this fast. I want to get to Mahora before tomorrow. Scene change. Just as Naruto had thought he had made it to Mahora, though it was late at night and he had a terrible hangover at the moment. The Kyuubi had somehow coaxed him into having a drinking contest with him, and Naruto had to miniaturize his bike and then train all the way here. Though the headache had dulled, Naruto was sure it was going to be painful if he didn't rest soon. As he walked onto the campus in the middle of the night, he remembered something he forgot. He forgot to make Kyuubi conceal his demon energy. That was why he was met with an odd assortment of people. In front of him stood various students and what he could guess were staff members. One of which was Satsuna. Look, whoever you idiots are, get out of my way. I have a headache, and I need to pass through. First tell us what a powerful demon is doing here, a dark-skinned man asked. We will not allow anyone willing to harm our students into the premises. Do we seriously have to go through these motions? Naruto groaned, rubbing his temples. I really have a hangover and I'm more than willing just get to where I need to and be on my way. You still have not stated what you are doing here, demon, a woman with white hair and a sword growled. I am not a demon, so please stop calling me that. Naruto then pointed behind the group of people. He's the demon. The group turned around, saw a large five-tailed fox behind them glaring at them menacingly. The people were about to move into action when they found themselves stuck onto the floor, and electricity shot through their bodies, paralyzing them. Looking down, the entire group saw a large circle of light that was emitting the energy keeping them bound. Sorry to do this to you, but I really have something to do. What are you planning on doing to this school? Yet another mage demanded. Okay, seriously, I told you how many times already, I'm just passing through. Naruto's eyes narrowed as he jumped back as a blast of energy hit the ground where he was standing. He kept dodging as more and more craters were being made by some intense force. Kyuubi used one of his tails to deflect the attacks. This brat has gotten stronger, Kit. Still Mata Dane though, Naruto smirked as he massaged his forehead. He put his right hand up and a large circle with various runes appeared, creating a multicolored energy shield that was as big as his body. This had protected him from a lightning blast that was coming his way. Same goes for the annoying kid who wants to join too. Naruto stopped the shield and leapt back just as another person tried taking a swipe at him. It was from a fan, but he didn't want to get hurt. On Kyuubi's side, the fox stopped pumping energy into the spell Naruto had cast that was keeping the people at bay. The fox then miniaturized and landed on Naruto's shoulder. Seems like there's an annoying infestation of people here. Yeah, you can all come out now, I know you're there. From out of the shadows, a small red-headed boy appeared next to a man in a white suit who had graying hair. From behind him, Naruto felt the presence of two other warriors on the roof. One had a gun currently aimed at his head, and another seemed to be using ki. Ninja and sniper person, get out here in the open as well. Naruto then trained his eyes on one person, the person glaring at him with mismatched eyes. She had orange hair in two ponytails. Asuna-chan, I see you've taken care of her. Naruto turned towards the man in the white suit, Bakamaiki. What? Asuna shouted as she tried to attack Naruto again. Naruto jumped back, his hangover all but forgotten. How dare you insult Takahata-sensei? Oh, I think I can insult anyone I can, Asuna-chan. Right, Q. Naruto smirked. Haha, got that right, Kit. Kyuubi howled in laughter. None of you can go all out as long as it may attract attention, no. The students and faculty stopped when they heard the fox say that. What are you doing here? What are you intending to do to the school? Takamichi asked as he walked forward, his hands in his pocket. Naruto chuckled and shook his head as he sidestepped to the right. The tree behind him was destroyed. That's new for you, Baka. I mean, you attacked me without a good reason. Naruto asked. You brought a demon lord. The assemble gasped when they heard that the fox was an all-powerful demon onto the school premises, into Mahora. That is all the reason I need to attack you. Oh, I see. Naruto nodded. Well, that just means I'll have to beat you all down. Even Chibi Nagi over there. Naruto pointed at Negi. Nagi, how do you know my? Before Negi could finish the sentence, the boy was sent spiraling backwards and slammed into a tree. Naruto had a blue ring under his feet and his left arm stretched out. Negi, Asuna shouted. First you insult Takahata-sensei and then hit Negi. I won't forgive you. Asuna then began to wildly attack him with her fan, with Satsuna jumping in to help attack. Naruto was easily dodging both attacks and was easily bored. When did you take up kendo, Asuna-chan? Naruto asked the orange-haired girl. Why do you keep calling me that? I don't even know you. Asuna screamed, as she sent an attack towards his head. Naruto stopped it with a nonchalant block of his wrist. He blocked Satsuna's blade, with his bare hand too. Satsuna-chan, your form has gotten better but you've still got a long way to go. The swordsman glared at him, trying to figure out how he knew her name. Naruto then threw both of them to the side before raising up a green-colored shield made out of wind that redirected the bullets that were being shot at him. Naruto then teleported to where the person shooting at him was and saw a tall tanned girl with raven hair. TCH, you almost got me there. Mana's eyes narrowed as she brought out a pistol attached to her pants and shot behind her. Naruto redirected the bullet again with the green wind, before grabbing Mana by the neck and teleporting back down to ground level and slamming her into the pavement. The girl gasped as the wind was knocked out of her. Naruto teleported away from her, and when he did he came under heavy fire by different spells from all over. Mages were casting small spells to heavy spells all at Naruto that his body was covered in a dust and explosions. After all the attacks subsided, the mages were all expectantly looking into the damaged area. Did we get him? A mage with glasses asked. Knowing who we are against, Takemichi responded as he took out a cigarette and put it between his lips. No. When the dust and dirt cleared the air, a large pearly gold orb was in the middle. It then broke down and there stood Naruto unharmed. My turn, Naruto taunted. Around him a large tornado kicked up and all the mages who were prepared were drawn in. For a few seconds those who were caught were bouncing around in the vortex before being thrown onto the grassy portion of the street. The few mages still standing were looking at him with apprehension. Q, do you want to get in on this? Nah. The fox yawned. None of them want to fight seriously, so I'll go take a nap. No nap. Go tell our employer we're here. TCH, cheeky brat telling me what to do. I love you too, Q. The fox then jumped off and ran towards the inner part of the city-like school. Stop that fox, Takemichi shouted. Some mages went to attack but Naruto appeared before them. You shouldn't take your eyes off of me. Let me show you something I've been working on. It's not as strong without the weapon but it still works well. Naruto disappeared before reappearing within the middle of the group. Spinning on his heel, multiple red flaming balls materialized around him. Faded circle. All the flaming orbs then blew up, scattering all the mages in every direction. There weren't any burns on them but they seemed to get hurt. Naruto grabbed a knife that was flying towards him, and then deflected the various others that were being thrown at him. You pretty skilled intruder Dono, a female ninja wearing a purple ninja costume and had olive green hair complimented him as she stepped out of the shadows. Naruto shrugged and then threw the knife onto the floor. I'd say the same about you, but then again all these clones you've transformed into knives wouldn't surprise me, Naruto replied before a silver energy surrounded his body in a circle outline drawing into knives. The knives then transformed into multiples of the girl. Naruto released the energy then shouted, guilt. The clones all disappeared and Naruto smirked. Naruto appeared before the girl and was about to slam his fist into her abdomen, but she grabbed his arm to stop him. Easy moves like that won't work, Dogozuru, the ninja told him. Whoever said that was my attack? Naruto asked with the smirk still on his face. Cosmic Ray. Naruto opened his hand and silver-colored lightning erupted from it, as well as his free hand. The ninja screamed in pain as he zapped her. She crumpled to the floor. The girl tried to get up but it seemed that her body wouldn't listen. Don't bother. I messed with your nerves by sending random shots of electricity to mess with the currents of the synapses. Naruto then turned around and saw that most of the mages were now trembling from fear of him, and the few that were recovering from his earlier attacks were itching to attack him. His eyes then landed on Takemichi. Bakamichi, I was hoping for a more warmer welcome, you know. Takemichi sighed as he crushed the cigarette butt under his foot. Using Shundo he appeared in front of Naruto and had his fist raised. Every mage was smiling when they saw this. Naruto's smirk never left his face even when the fist was getting closer to his face. Everyone save, for the two they were watching, nearly fell in shock in what Takemichi did. He shook hands with Naruto. "It's been a while, Naruto-kun," Takemichi greeted. "It has been a long time, Takemichi," Naruto said with a smile instead of a smirk. "Odd way to welcome me though. Having the entire magical staff attack me without notice. Add to the fact that I was also a bit hungover." Takemichi chuckled. "Sorry about that, we have to take measures and all. The students were attacked during their trip to Kyoto." "Oh, so that's what had Aishin all worried." Naruto rolled his eyes. "That warrior has gotten soft. I guess having a kid does that to you, no?" "Oh, so you heard he had a kid?" "Excuse us, Takemichi sir," a blonde girl in a black school uniform interrupted the two from catching up. "Who is this person?" "I forgot about that. Let me introduce you to a close friend of mine. Everyone, this is Naruto Uzumaki. Our masters were good friends with each other and we ended up traveling together for a while." "Yo," Naruto greeted. "Sorry about the attacks, but you people attacked me first." "No we didn't," a frowning Satsuna replied. "You didn't?" Naruto questioned, tilting his head. Whoops. This had everyone glaring at him as he bashfully scratched the back of his head. "I hope you don't act like that during your job, Naruto-kun," an elderly voice said. Everyone looked down the pathway and saw an old man with a large head in Japanese priest robes walking towards them. On his shoulder was a resting Kyuubi. "You don't have to worry about that old man." "Shut up, Kit, your voice is giving me a headache," Kyuubi complained. "Headmaster Konaman, do you know this person?" a mage asked as he stood up clutching his stomach. "Yes, this young boy is going to be my assistant for the time being. Please treat him well." "What?" most of the mages shouted, forcing Naruto to cover his ears. "Shut up," Kyuubi roared, causing them to stop shouting. "Stupid humans." Scene change. Naruto was sitting next to Takemichi catching up inside the headmaster's office. The only other people with them were Satsuna, Asuna, Negi and the headmaster. The reason why those three were there was per request by Naruto. "Excuse me, Uzumaki-san," Negi called out. "Yeah?" Naruto asked, even though he nearly gave the kid a scathing glare for calling him Uzumaki-san. "Why are you here really?" As the headmaster said, "Naruto-kun here will be his assistant. Doing odd jobs around the school, there's even a chance he might help you out in class from time to time," Takemichi answered for the blonde. "Yup. Oh hell no, I won't accept this insulting idiot be in our school, let alone near our class," Asuna shouted, while slamming her foot into the ground. "Heck, he even has a demon that has a lot more manners than him." "Hey, I so have more manners than that annoying fox over there," Naruto jabbed his thumb at the fox. He was then hit in the back of the head with a thick encyclopedia. "Shut up, Kit," Kyuubi muttered as he got himself comfortable on the headmaster's desk. "Why have you called us here, Uzumaki-san?" Satsuna asked worriedly. Naruto closed his eyes and pouted, making him look like a sad fox. This had the Kyuubi rolling his eyes at his partner. "The reason I called you three here is because I wanted to see you again," Naruto explained. "See us again?" Three said in unison. "Yeah, but I've never met you before, Uzumaki-san," Negi told him. "Neither have I," Satsuna replied. "I'd remember if I met an idiot like you before," Asuna muttered, crossing her arms. Even though she said that, she did feel some sort of familiarity between him and her. Naruto began to tear up comically as anime tears spilled from his eyes, and a dark cloud appeared over his head. "She doesn't remember me," Naruto cried as he hung his head. "Even though she gave me her first kiss and all that." Satsuna, Negi and Asuna's jaw dropped at what Naruto revealed. "What?" Asuna shouted. She then turned towards Takemichi. "That's a lie, Takahata-sensei. I swear I've never kissed him before. I would have remembered if I had." "Actually I was there, Asuna-kun," Takemichi stated, causing everyone's jaw to drop even further. "He did kiss you. You even have his pactio as proof." Naruto suddenly brightened up, and then was in front of Asuna in a flash. "You kept it?" Naruto asked, his voice full of hope. "Wait, you're the little kid named Naruto on that pactio?" Asuna asked. Naruto nodded his head vigorously, and Asuna moaned in distaste. "That's great, I have an idiot as a partner." "Hey, I'm not an idiot. Could have fooled me," Kyuubi commented. This earned a glare from the blonde boy. "It seems like Uzumaki-san does know Asuna-san, but how do you know us, Uzumaki-san?" Satsuna asked. Naruto pointed to Negi first. "I'm his godfather," Naruto stated clear and simple. That had everyone's eyes widening. He then pointed towards Satsuna. I met you a few years ago in the woods where we had training. I can remember training in the woods for a while, but I don't remember you. That's just great. Am I that easily forgotten? Naruto got all mopey again, causing everyone to sweat drop. But I have proof of that too. You have a black angel wing as some sort of accessory. Satsuna absent-mindedly grasped her chest, where a necklace was. And to match it you gave me a white angel wing, which I made into a bracelet. Naruto then looked at the clock and frowned. Seeing that it's late, I'll be going to my living quarters. Ah, Naruto-kun, about that. I decided that it would be good that you get to know some of the students better, Kanemon finally spoke. So I decided to have you dorm with some of Asuna-chan's classmates. Naruto wondered as he was handed a piece of paper. Scene change. At midnight during the end of their school trip, a girl with purple hair was awoken from her slumber by a knocking coming from her door. Can you get the door? The girl asked her roommate in a soft voice. Haruna, get the door. A blue-haired girl, grumbled to another person in the room to get the door. She was answered by a frustrated sigh. Whoever it is better have a good excuse for waking me up, a black-haired girl with glasses muttered under her breath. Why don't you get it, Nodoka? Haruna asked the purple-haired girl. This time the answer was a light snoring. Haruna kept mumbling under her breath and opened the door, but not taking off the deadbolt. What do you want? Haruna asked in a very irritated voice. As this were a Haruna Saotome lives, a male voice asked from the other side. Look, whatever you're selling, buddy, I'm not buying. The person on the other side gave a chuckle that sent a shiver down her spine. Opening the door more, Haruna went to investigate who it was. Her mouth hung open when she saw a blonde Adonis standing on the other side of the door. Saotome-san, the man asked. The girl barely felt herself nod. Hi there. Name's Naruto Uzumaki. I'm going to be your roommate from now on. That night everyone in that dorm woke up from a triumphant shout of, yes. Coming from the room of Haruna and Nodoka. Haruna, and Nodoka were all looking at the sleeping figure on the couch of their dorm room. Naruto had decided to sleep on the couch after telling the library trio that he has been assigned to stay there during his duration of work. He explained to them that he would not do anything perverted, as he sensed that Nodoka was nervous around him and was glaring at him suspiciously. Haruna had all but willingly said that she would share her bed with him. This led to instructing him to stay away from the girl when she gets like that, thus leading to Naruto sleeping on the couch with Kyuubi. And now it was morning and the three girls were watching Naruto sleep, with Kyuubi asleep on his chest. Haruna was watching him hungrily as he shifted on the couch, and when the blanket fell off she offered to put it back on him but was stopped by Yu. Yu was still suspicious about why this man was here, and sleeping in the room, although she feared for his life since Haruna was going gaga with the prospect of a male teen in their room day in and day out. Nodoka was just nervous with him being there. She was never good with men around. Sure, she had gotten used to her teacher, but hell, she loved Negi. This was a man who just appeared in their lives and intruded. We should wake him up, Yu told the other two, catching their attention. If anything, he has to go to work soon. I agree, and I know just how to do it. Haruna giggled and tried to walk over to Naruto's sleeping form, if it were not for you holding her back. Hey, let go. We won't have you traumatizing our guest by having your perverted hands on him, the brunette reprimanded her perverted friend. Haruna frowned and struggled to break free. But I won't do anything bad, promise. I was just going to put his face in between my. The mangaka was stopped when a think thesaurus hit her face. No means no, Haruna. The two were about to get into an argument about her perverted ways, that was until the third roommate spoke. Guys, Nodoka stuttered, trying to get their attention. However, the two just kept arguing for a moment. Guys, again the shy librarian girl was ignored. Guys, Nodoka shouted. Yu and Haruna stopped their bickering and turned towards their friend. He's awake. The two other girls turned to the blonde who was watching them with interest. He was dressed in black basketball shorts and an orange t-shirt, with a small fox on his shoulder. Naruto looked over at a digital clock on one of the girls' desks. 6:30 in the morning and you girls are arguing already. Should I be worried about why you girls were put into a room together? We don't actually argue this much, Uzumaki-san, Yu explained as she pulled out a juice box from out of nowhere and began to drink it. Haruna here was just trying to do something stupid again. She received a glare from Haruna. I'm guessing she was trying to get into bed with me, huh? Naruto asked. When Yu nodded, Naruto laughed. Ha ha ha. Sorry, but the idea of you trying to get in bed with me is pretty bad. Last girl who tried that, I accidentally threw her off the bed. What did you do? My sensei was pretty extreme in trying to teach me self-defense, so he would attack me in my sleep. So I had to learn how to defend myself while asleep, which got me into throwing people off. I got so used to it that I started to do that to people who try to sneak up on me when I sleep. Naruto then looked at Haruna. So I suggest you don't try to do that again, Haruna-chan. Oh but Naruto-kun, I love a good challenge, Haruna replied with a smirk. Naruto rolled his eyes and turned to his fox friend. Hey Q, we need to take a bath huh? Kyuubi nodded. Yeah I thought so too. Hey is there a shower here in the dorm? No Uzumaki-san. We don't have a shower in the dorm. But there is a large open spaced bath just down the hall, Nodoka answered him. Aw thanks Nodoka-chan, Naruto thanked the girl with a smile. She seemed to get flustered at the smile, but Naruto knew better. He spent his time around many different types of girls during his time in the magical world, and he knew that Nodoka was that type that was shy around guys. So by adding Chan to her name she might have felt uncomfortable. Standing up Naruto walked over to a duffel bag on the floor and pulled out a towel, underwear, a black t-shirt, swimming trunks and a pair of jeans. So are any of you girls willing to help me find the place? I'll do, Haruna was about to answer but, I'll do it Uzumaki-san, you cut off Haruna. I don't honestly trust you in the able hands of Haruna here. Thanks Yu-chan, I'll be waiting outside. As Naruto stepped out of the room, Haruna glared at Yu. Why are you trying so hard to keep him out of my hands? Haruna exclaimed. I will not let you molest one of the new staff members, Yu retorted. I don't want to get in trouble for something you did. Haruna looked at her skeptically for a moment. Are you sure you don't just want Naruto-kun all to yourself? Haruna asked. Yu raised an eyebrow. I mean he is a nice piece of man. I wouldn't put it past you to try to seduce him after bringing him to the bathhouse. Slowly Haruna's glare returned. That's your plan isn't it? The short girl rolled her eyes. Please do not lump me with you. I will keep my word. I'll just show him where it is and make sure you aren't going to sneak in there. The glare disappeared and a smirk appeared on the mangaka's face. Knew it. Now if you excuse me I have a person to attend to. Yu walked over to a drawer and pulled out a bathing suit as well as her uniform. Might as well get ready too. She turned to Nodoka. Nodoka, do you mind starting breakfast? Sure thing Yu, Nodoka replied, going to the little kitchen of their dorm. Yu walked over to the door and sent a threatening glare at Haruna before leaving. Haruna stared at the door for a minute before going to the couch and grabbing the blanket. Making sure Nodoka wasn't looking, she took a quick smell and let out a sigh of pleasure. This smells better than I thought. The sweat and other smells he left here are great. I can use this for my manga. Now all I have to do is keep you away from him, Haruna told herself as she schemed up a way to get Naruto to be her subject. Oh, this is it Uzumaki-san, Yu said as she opened a sliding door towards the bath. Naruto let out a low whistle as he took in the large place. Kyuubi rushed off into the water and started to clean himself. The old man must have paid good money to get this for you girls, didn't he? Naruto asked, to which the blue-haired girl nodded. Where can I change? Over there. Yu pointed to a door to the side. Naruto was about to walk off but stopped himself. Where are you going to change? The librarian shot him a questioning look. Because I'm worried. My pet likes to steal women's clothes so. The two humans looked over to the water where Kyuubi was watching them. I'll change after you are done. Naruto sighed and left the room, leaving Yu and Kyuubi all alone. The girl stared at the fox and the fox stared back in some odd starring contest. This kept going for a couple of silent moments, but at one point Yu could have sworn the fox was trying to undress her with his eyes. She ruled that out though because it was just some lame fox, that was perverted and seems to eye her a bit too much. Yu-chan, Naruto called out, getting her attention. As she turned around, the young librarian blushed hard. All the years of doing whatever he did had Naruto's body well intoned. She was taking his sight in, her eyes wandering all over his body. She took notice that he was muscled, yet not excessively so, making it look just right. She also noted that he was tanned in every place that wasn't covered by clothes. The last thing she caught sight of before looking back to his face was tattoos on his arms. They were small but pronounced. On the left forearm was a picture of a black book with various thorns covering it, while on the right forearm was a white book that seemed to have various blades surrounding it. She had to admit that Haruna was right, he was a nice piece of man. Yu forced herself to look up at Naruto and beat down the blush that built up at her cheeks. Yes, Uzumaki-san, When Naruto frowned, she wondered what was wrong. "You-chan, from now on don't call me Uzumaki-san. Honorifics aren't my thing. Just call me Naruto." Yu rolled her eyes and then left the room to go change. That was when Naruto turned his head towards Kyuubi. "You could have turned off our mental link, you know. I really didn't need to know your thoughts on how the girl looked," Naruto said as he sat down and dunked himself into the water. After a couple of seconds he resurfaced and continued his glare at Kyuubi. "Aw come on kid," Kyuubi spoke for the first time that day. "We're at an all-girls school, with each girl doing a different activity leading to different types of costumes. Haven't you ever fantasized about doing a librarian?" Naruto's right eye was twitching as he looked at his fox, who was sitting with him in the water. "I swear it was bad enough that Rakan was a pervert back home, it was worse that it rubbed off on you, and the worst part of it was that your demon nature mixes with it and you torment me with your constant suggestions of doing almost every girl I come across. Hey, they flock to you, I'm just saying, capitalize on the fact." Kyuubi stopped talking when he saw Naruto put his fingers into his ears like he was a little kid. "What was that cue? I couldn't hear you over the sound of you being a retard." "Shut it, brat. Though I would say keep going, making a complete fool out of yourself." Naruto knew what he meant by that. Just as he said that, Yu came out in a black one-piece bathing suit. Naruto blinked a moment before blushing. On the other hand, Kyuubi was mentally laughing his butt off, for he kept supplying terrible images into the poor boy's head. "Stupid fox. I said stop that," Naruto mentally growled at the Kyuubi through a mental connection the two have. Naruto then shut it off. "I'm guessing that's not standard issue from the school, huh?" he asked Yu as she sat down next to him and washed her body. "No, it's my own," Yu replied calmly, having gotten over the shock of seeing Naruto nearly naked. After washing off, she turned towards Naruto. "What brings you here, Naruto-san?" "I'll let the whole san thing slide for now, Yu-chan, since we just met and all," the blonde said as he relaxed a bit. "I'm here to make money." "You need money, Naruto-san." "Nope," Yu face faulted. "Then why are you here for money?" she nearly shouted. Well, to be honest, my sensei uses all my money." Naruto cried anime tears as he imagined Rakan back in the magical world using his money on booze and women. "Ever since I graduated from studying how to defend myself and became a partner in his business, he shared our money. But I make more money than him and he's been spending it all." Naruto sniffled as he was comically crying over his financial crisis. Next to him, Yu was patting his back, worried something bad might happen to it. "So that's why I'm here, I need the money." "That makes sense. If your sensei keeps using your money, you'd be broke." "Right, but there is another reason I'm here," Naruto said in a softer voice. Yu was surprised to see the quick change in his smile and voice, even his eyes changed. They had become soft and seemed to carry out the feeling of nostalgia and longing. "The other reason I'm here is to see my princess again." "Why your princess?" Yu asked, shocked. Naruto turned to her before chuckling a bit and shaking his head. "Don't worry about it. Besides, by the look of things, it seems as if she moved on," Naruto said as he stood up and stretched his arms. "She seems to have fallen for my old friend." Naruto sighed this time and she saw a bit of sadness go over his eyes for an instant but left just as fast as it came. He was then looking at Yu. He flashed her a smile and offered her his hand. "Let's go, yeah. I need to go to the headmaster and he'll give me my job. You have to get to class." Yu took his hand, but slipped forward. She felt into Naruto's chest while his arms went around her to make sure she was safe. "You alright, Yu-chan?" The girl in question could feel the heat rushing to her cheeks. She could feel his muscles moving as he shifted his arms. "I'm fine. Why am I acting like a hormonal girl? I'm better than this," Yu thought to herself. When Naruto let go of her, she was still blushing a bit, but Naruto already walked off. Deciding to go change first, he opened the door to the changing room to get his stuff. Going to the shelf where it was supposed to be, he found nothing. His eyes started to twitch as Naruto already knew what happened. 0. The kid is going to find out in 3, 2, 1. Kyuubi counted off from the roof of the building opposite of the bathhouse. Next to him were Naruto's clothes. "Kyuubi!" Naruto roared, causing birds to fly away in different directions. "Ah, the sweet sound of annoyance in the morning. Ha ha." Kyuubi laughed as he took Naruto's clothes and flung them upward. A small hole appeared above him and the clothes went into it, causing them to vanish. "He'll find them later, but for now, let's watch the show." Kyuubi got comfortable and lied down, knowing a very mad and a very embarrassed Naruto will walk out of the bath. Not to mention a half-naked one, going to walk by the dorms of all the girls that just woke up. This is going to be good. 0. Who was screaming? A blonde-haired blue-eyed girl asked. Her head popped out of a door from the dorm room. Behind her a tall brunette with a rather large bust was looking out as well. Behind her was a red-haired girl with freckles. Ayaka, I think someone is pretty mad this morning, the brunette replied. Shizoru Ne-chan is right. But I don't think I've ever heard that voice, the red-haired girl replied. Natsumi is right. I don't think that voice familiar, Ayaka replied. Shizoru noticed that everyone from class had their heads poking out. It doesn't seem like it's anyone from our class either. They're all in their rooms, save for you, Shizoru said. But you doesn't sound like that. Hey Aincho, what was that? Asuna asked as she approached the class representative. She was dressed in a floral pink pajamas. Yeah, who was screaming so early in the morning? A lightly tanned girl asked. She had light brown hair that was done up in with two orb-like headbands on each side. She was wearing a light pink nightgown. They seemed mad. I don't know Sakurako, Ayaka replied. But it seemed to be coming from the bathroom. When I get my hands on you, you stupid fox, I'm going to neuter you. The voice roared again. This time the girls could distinguish it was a male. Naruto-san, I don't think you should go out right now, they heard Yu's voice coming from the bathroom. I mean, you barely have anything on. Every girl, save for Haruna and Yu, gasped. Yu is alone in the bathroom with some guy. Was the question on everyone's mind. All of the girls' jaws dropped when they saw the sliding doors slammed open. A few of the girls started bleeding by the nose, while most of them had blushes on their face, even the Negi obsessed had one. They kept staring as a Naruto only dressed in his swimming trunks. As he passed by, all the girls kept their eyes on him. As Naruto passed by a red-haired girl, she took a picture of him. They kept watching as he reached the door where Haruna and Nodoka were standing. Nodoka was fidgeting from looking at a half-naked man. Haruna on the other hand was drooling unabashed. There were hearts in her eyes and blood dripping from her nose. When Naruto was in front of her directly, she snapped out of her daze. Take me now, she shouted. Out of the room, Naruto shouted. Nodoka scurried out, while Haruna clung to the door. No, I want to see him change. Haruna was hanging onto the edge of the doorframe. A fully dressed Yu in her uniform ran up to her and pried her fingers off, with Naruto finally slamming the door shut. All was quiet for a second before all the class swarmed the library trio. Who was that? Why is he in your room? Why was he half naked? What was you doing alone with him in the bath? Were some of the questions the girls bombarded the trio with. One question at a time. Haruna hollered. After a second she had a prideful smirk. Now in that order. His name's Naruto Uzumaki. He's our roommate. He was taking a bath. And as to what Yu was doing with Naruto in the bath is anyone's guess. Haruna then turned to glare at Yu. What did you do with Naruto-kun in the bath? Nothing. Yu replied with no emotion. A second later, the door opened behind the three librarians. Naruto stepped out and was wearing a white shirt, a black jacket, blue jeans and black and white shoes. Underneath his right arm was a black helmet. He looked at the gathered crowd and raised an eyebrow. He shivered when he felt the stare of 30 girls fall on him. Is there something happening here? The blonde asked uncertainly. It's nothing, Naruto-san. Naruto released a sigh of relief before looking at his watch. His eyes widened. Damn, I'm going to be late for my meeting with the old man. Looking at his three roommates, Naruto frowned. Well, I was going to ask one you three to help me around the campus, but since only Yu-chan is dressed, I guess she'll have to do. Naruto ran, grabbed Yu's arm and ran off down the hallway. I never agreed to this, was the last thing they heard from the bookworm. This had left all the girls in a state of shock, which was all broken by Haruna's shout of disbelief. Why is it always Yu-kai that gets to spend time with him? 0. Yu got off of the motorcycle she was riding on, and the helmet off her head. Naruto was already off and helping her down. I can't feel my legs, she said on wobbly feet. Naruto laughed sheepishly and scratched the back of his head. Kyuubi had appeared on his shoulder and was still laughing at Naruto. I should have warned you about that. I forgot that was your first time riding a motorcycle, huh? Sorry, Naruto apologized. It's all right, I'll be better when I could feel my legs again. Yu took a wobbly step forward and would have fallen to the floor if Naruto hadn't caught her. He then wrapped his arm around her waist and smiled at her. I'll hold on to you until you can feel your legs better, okay? Yu was shocked, speechless, and could only nod her head in reply. Good, now which way is it to the old man's office? Yu pointed to a direction and Naruto followed. After a couple of minutes following Yu's wordless directions, Naruto found himself in front of the doors leading to the headmaster's office. Thanks Yu-chan. You can go to class now, right? Yeah, I will see you later, Naruto-san. Naruto took his arm away from her waist and Yu felt odd. Like she lost something when he did it. She looked at him one more time before walking down the halls towards her classroom, where she'll wait for the start of the day. The blonde hero on the other hand was walking into one thing he has grown up to hate the most, business meetings. Naruto ran a hand through his hair and entered the room. Inside he was met by Kaname, Takemichi and a little blonde girl. Okay, not to be stupid and all, but who the hell is she? Naruto asked. Why, you brat, the girl shouted in a British accent, as she stood up from her chair and glared at the boy. Show me some respect. Naruto looked at Kyuubi, who shrugged its shoulders, then at Takemichi who was chuckling, and finally Kaname. Naruto-kun, let me introduce you to the guardian of our school. Evangeline A.K. McDowell. This had Naruto's eyes widening. Wait, so this is the Undying Mage, the Dark Evangel, the Doll Master, the Queen of the Night, the Puppet Master, and all those other ridiculous nicknames? Naruto asked disbelievingly. I see my reputation precedes me, Evangeline smirked. She then saw Naruto and Kyuubi shaking. Is my presence that frightening to you? She would have felt some degree of happiness knowing that the new person was scared of her, but that was all shot down when both the boy and the fox started to laugh. This is the one who kept following the idiot Negi around all this time. Ha 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 ha. I never took that red-haired idiot for a loli-con. For those who don't know, lolis are people who are into little girls. Kyuubi howled in laughter. He was on the floor laughing. Who would have thought the most wanted mage in both worlds was a little brat? Ha 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 ha. Ow, my sides. My sides. Naruto was also on the floor laughing as well, clutching his sides. Takemichi's sweat dropped as he watched his old friend's antics, while Kaname was chuckling alongside him. Eva, on the other hand, was furious. You insolent little whelp, I'll tear you apart limb by limb. And I'll get that fox of yours too. Naruto stopped laughing and stood up, wiping away the tears that formed in his eyes. Kyuubi had again taken his perch on his shoulder. Sorry Eva-chan. Eva gained a tick mark on her forehead, but I know you're only as strong as a human right now. That seal on this place is keeping you from doing anything, isn't that right? When the vampire glared at him, Naruto waved her off. I know about it. Both my sensei and the idiot told me before I saw last. You know where Negi is? Eva asked, almost enthusiastically. No, that idiot got and went off the map. Ero sensei has knowledge on him, that much I know, but he won't tell me jack squat. Yeah, plus the Thousand Master is on the run from us too, Kyuubi interjected. What? Why? He owes us a large amount of money, Naruto huffed, crossing his arms over his chest. What's the exchange rate from drachma money in the magical world to yen? A single drachma is about 200 yen at the current standing, Kyuubi informed him. His blonde partner nodded. Naruto then turned to his fellow blonde and smirked. Aka Baka, red idiot, aka Negi, owes me 200,000 yen at the moment. Naruto shook his head. That guy has to learn to stop playing poker with me. So many damn IOUs. He still hasn't paid you back during your time with us, Naruto-kun? Takemichi asked. Hell no, he didn't. That idiot still hasn't paid up since our first game. He skipped out when we were in Vesperia, he put an IOU when he came for a visit, and a bunch of other times he's jumped ship before I could get him to pay me. Remember Kit, I got first shot at him. I still haven't gotten him for calling me an annoying little fuzzball, Kyuubi growled. The two were muttering on ways to find, castrate, and then get the money from Negi that they forgot they were in a meeting. They were brought out of their mutterings when Kaname cleared his throat. Sorry to interrupt you two, but I would like to tell Naruto-kun here what his job will be as my assistant today, Kaname said. Both Naruto and Kyuubi chuckled in embarrassment before turning towards their new boss. Okay, for today I only have 2 jobs for you. Each will take 4 hours and will be the job you have for today. Really? Both jobs will take 4 hours? Kyuubi asked disbelievingly. Well, the second one depends on your own skill and time, but the first one will take 4 hours since it will involve 4 classes. By the way, Evangeline, are you not supposed to be in class? The vampire grumbled something and then left the room, slamming the door shut. Is she always like that? Naruto asked. Or is it that time of month again? The door opened for a moment and a shoe came into contact with Naruto's head, making him fall to the floor. Kyuubi was smart enough to jump out of the way before the shoe came in, so he was safe. Serves you right for being a dumbass, Kyuubi laughed as he saw his partner on the floor. So care to tell us what our job is, old man? Oh, what do you think we are going to be doing today, Asuna? Kanoka asked her roommate. I mean our regular gym teacher isn't here today. Who do you think is our substitute? Maybe Takahata-sensei. That would be great, Asuna sighed dreamily. All the students of 3A had changed into their gym clothes, that consisted of maroon shorts and white shirts. They were walking towards the track to see what their substitute teacher had in store for them. Do you think we are going to do anything fun, Kaide? A dark-skinned girl with blonde hair asked aloud. Her hair was done in 2 pigtails on either side and she was walking cheerfully along her friends. Last time we had a sub, all he made us do was run laps. Uru. I agree, Ku-fei. The last time was boring to Gozaru, Kaide replied. She was a tall girl, taller than any third-year middle schooler, freshman high school for anyone outside of Japan, replied. Her skin was tanned but not as much as Ku's. Her hair was olive green and down in 2 long thin ponytails on the back. As the class talked about random things and gossiped about the incident this morning with the half-naked boy, they finally came to the tracks. Oh, it looks like our sensei isn't here yet, a girl with a red hair stated. She was the same girl who took pictures of Naruto as he passed by, the reporter of the class, Kazumi Asakura. But that's not important. What is important is you. She turned to the blue-haired girl. Why does this Naruto person keep choosing you to be along with him? Are you insinuating that something is happening between me and a person I just met? Yu answered the question with one of her own. If I didn't know any better, I'd say you're lumping me up with her. Yu pointed at Haruna. Hey, what does that mean? Haruna asked. I'm saying that I don't feel anything towards Naruto other than friendship. Happy. Asakura didn't look convinced, but decided to let it die for now. So this is the class 1 have for an hour? A male voice asked as it approached. All the girls looked and saw the topic of Asakura's probing, Naruto himself. Scurrying behind him was Kyubi. Naruto-kun, what are you doing here? Haruna asked as she ran up to meet him. My job. He then looked to all the other girls. Hey there, class of 3A, right? Yeah, was the united answer from most of the girls. Good. For the following hour you will be under my care for gym class. Let me lay down some ground rules. First off, you will not call me Uzumaki-sensei, San, Kun, or whatever honorific you can think of. It will be Naruto plus whatever honorific you want, from here on out, as long as I am part of whatever class I'm assigned to help out it in. Got it? The girls nodded. Good. Second, I want to get to know your names as long as I'm here. I don't care how long it takes me to do it, I want us to be friends. That was a cheer from all around, causing him to shake his head and smile. And since there is one last thing I have to say, I will more or less likely be in charge of doing this from time to time from what the old man said, so I will give you the offer I gave to the previous class. What would that be? Asuna asked. Asuna-chan, you're in this class. I didn't know that, Naruto said in a confused voice, causing the orange-haired girl to sweat drop. Putting that piece of info away for later, he got back onto what he was saying. My offer is this. Each time I'm a sensei for your class 1 will offer the entire class a challenge. Beat me at that challenge and I will let you do whatever you want as long as it is within school rules. And if we don't, Naruto-san? Ayaka asked. You have to do what I saw for that class period. Do we have a deal? He gave them a smirk, one that was being mirrored by the fox on his shoulders. The girls were all thinking it over before going into a huddle and whispering amongst themselves. Do you think they'll decline like the other class buddy? If the 3 we are staying with, they'll probably accept, Kyubi told his partner. As class representative, I say we accept, Ayaka told him. Naruto smirked and chuckled. Good. Okay, since today I am your teacher for gym, my challenge for you this time is this. Naruto produced a soccer ball from behind his back and threw it up and down his hand. Score 1 goal, while I'm goalie. You'll have 10 minutes to do so. Just 1 goal. This is going to be easier. Ku-fei returned his smirk. Oh, how if that girl only knew. Naruto stood in front of a soccer goal, pressing some buttons on his wristwatch. He had taken off his black jacket, leaving him in his white shirt and jeans. The girls were all waiting for him to finish setting the timer on his watch, getting ready for the sure-to-be massacre of this one-shot game. There, the timer is set, Naruto announced. Kyubi was laying on the grass with a smirk on his face. Okay girls, remember, just 1 goal. Make 1 goal in 10 minutes and you girls win. Don't worry about it, Naruto-sensei. We'll win no matter what. Ku-fei boasted. Shaking his head in amusement, Kyubi got himself in a comfortable position as he watched them get ready. Next to her, Kaide nodded, the ball resting at her feet. This is going to be bad for them, thought the fox. I can't help but feel sorry for them. Okay, the game starts now. The blonde pressed a button on his watch to initiate the timer. Wasting no time, Kaide kicked the ball towards the upper left corner of the goal. Almost everyone was smiling, thinking they had just won. However, they were shocked when Naruto ran to the ball. Jumping up, he smacked the ball away with his right arm back towards the class. Surprise attack, not bad, praised the substitute gym teacher. I didn't think you would be able to get that Dagozuru, Kaide responded. Naruto chuckled at her response. This was a lie and they both knew it. She was the ninja that he hit last night as the group of mages confronted him when he had arrived. Naruto didn't continue the conversation as Ku kicked the ball towards the other side of the net. Going into action, Naruto was in front of the ball in a matter of seconds, catching it in his left hand. 2 surprise attacks, Naruto asked. Man, who thought of that nay? Though it seemed that he was genuinely curious to see who did think of it, the girls knew he was taunting them. Throwing the ball back into the crowd, Asuna stepped up and kicked it with all her might. Sighing, Naruto blocked the ball with his chest before catching it on his foot. He then continued to bounce it up and down. If anything my sensei had taught me, is that knowing is half the battle. And I guess you 3 are the strongest physically in this class, nay. Well, that means I have nothing to worry about if that is your level of power. You won't make a single goal against me. What was that? A couple of competitive girls growled. I mean, if that was the best you girls got, I won't even have to try, Naruto replied. He then shook his head and looked towards them with a sad face. Here I thought I might actually get a challenge. The blonde then kicked the ball back to them. Why you? Take this. A girl with black hair and a pigtail on the right side of her head, Yuna was her name if Naruto was right. She kicked the ball in a straight line towards Naruto. The blonde rolled his eyes and hit the ball back. Next, one by one the girls tried kicking the ball into the goal, and one right after the other they failed. As the girls waited their turn, all they could do was watch helplessly as the girl after them failed. 5 minutes are up. What are you girls going to do now? I mean, what I have in mind for what you girls have to do is pretty tiring and painful, maybe a 10 laps around the campus. Yeah, that sounds like a good punishment, right Ainsho-san? Though you only have to do 1 lap. That's good enough for me. What? Ayaka gasped. You are the voice of reason in the group, aren't ya? You're the one who agreed to this game, so I was thinking of being lenient on you. Wouldn't you agree that it's a fair deal? You deserve some special treatment, you are the class president after all. Hey, what's this Ainsho? How come you get special treatment? Fuka demanded. How come you only get 1 lap? I didn't agree to any of that. Ayaka defended herself. Well, that doesn't mean anything. He's the sensei, he can do what he wants. Fumika replied. Why the heck did you even agree to this, Ayaka? Asakura asked. Why did I agree to this? You girls were pushing me into doing it. Especially you, since you were too lazy to do anything. What? The reporter gasped. I'll have you know I'm not lazy. If you want someone to blame, then blame her, she pointed at Yuna. What? Why me? The basketball player asked. You were the one going. Yeah, let's do this. While we were in the huddle. You can't just blame me, Haruna also agreed to it too. Yuna accused the mangaka. What did you say? The girl replied. I'm saying you're part of the problem here, same as I am. You can't just stick the blame on me. Soon the entire class broke into an argument on who was to blame on the whole agreeing thing. You girls are all fools, Evangeline sighed as she finally decided to speak. The girls stopped their arguments and looked at the little blonde girl. Don't you see what he was doing? He's trying to waste your time by making you argue amongst yourselves. Their eyes widening, the girls turned back to Naruto was laughing to himself as he leaned on the metal post of the goal. He composed himself when he felt all their eyes on him. Damn, and here I thought no one would catch on. Naruto then checked his watch and smiled back at the girls. With all the arguing you girl did, you have a minute left. Oh no, what do we do now? Yuna asked. Use more than 1 ball, Evangeline hinted. Everyone looked at her as if she grew another head. What? I do not intend to do something stupid because of your mistakes. Besides, he never limited you to a single ball. That's true, Asuna realized. She ran over to the side of the field and grabbed the ball and dropped them all in front of them. There were 8 in total, including the first. Everyone kick already, Evangeline commanded. There isn't much time left. The girls nodded, with the most physical of the girls kicking the balls towards Naruto. I wasn't expecting this, Naruto spoke to himself. Though this provides a challenge, nay. Naruto ran up to the first ball and swatted it away, before hitting the one closest to him as well. Frowning, Naruto knew he wouldn't be able to stop all the balls in time. Then he smirked. Kicking the ball closest to him, it hit 2 balls and redirected their paths. When one rebounded closer to him, he kicked it again, redirecting the final 3 away from the net. Naruto sighed as he slumped down. Phew, I almost didn't make it. How did he stop all of those? Ayaka asked. It seems like he was physically trained to Gozuru, Kaide told herself. As well as mentally too. It takes a while for someone to come up with a plan to stall time like he did, a girl with her hair done in 2 buns replied. I agree, Chow. Did you see that cue? I was amazing, Naruto exclaimed as he walked over to the fox. The girls watched as Kyuubi seemingly rolled his eyes at his blonde friend before running up his outstretched arm and perching himself in his favorite spot on Naruto's shoulder. And yet he is an idiot, Eva sighed. That goes to show, when your sensei is an idiot, it passes on to you too. He seemed to be so responsible too, Satsuna sighed as he kept talking to the fox. So Naruto-sensei, what is it that we have to do? Ayaka asked with her head down. You said we'd have to do anything you wanted. 10 laps around the school, right? All the girls hung their heads as if they were going to die. What? No, Naruto shouted. He jumped back when all their heads snapped back up instantaneously and stared at him. Hell, he was surprised they didn't get whiplash from doing so. I only said that to get you to argue with one another. I won't put you through the same damn treatment my own sensei put me through. I still have aches from all that physical conditioning he made me do. Naruto shuddered as he remembered all the insane and tiring things he's been made to do by one Jack Rakan. So no, you will not be doing laps around the school. I'll let you girls have a free day today. He was interrupted with the girls cheering and he couldn't repress the laugh that came up. As I was saying, I'll let you have a free day today, but in return you girls need to make room in your busy lives to have a talk with me. At least for 30 minutes, preferably sometime this week. Why? You asked. I want to get to know you girls. I mean, you girls were brave enough to accept a challenge from me, besides I feel like we'll be spending a lot more time with each other. That old man is probably looking for me to do more work with your class. Naruto scratched his head before looking at his watch. Well, I've used up enough of your time girls, so go have a free day. If you need me, I'll be sitting down under that tree over there. Can you make a list of when the students can meet me, please? Hi, Naruto-san, Yu replied. Naruto nodded and gave her an appreciative smile. Grabbing his jacket, he walked off and sat down under the shade of the tree he pointed at. He is a weird one, Evangeline said. Chachimaru, let's go. He gave us a free day. So I would like to have some tea now. Yes, master, the robotic girl replied, following after the short one. Soon one by one the girls went off to do their things for gym. Some gossiped, others actually played sports, and a small few decided to take a nap. Naruto had taken account of all of them and was speaking to his longtime partner. So what do you think of them? Asked the blonde. If anything, those that tried to kick had some sort of magical power in them, the fox replied as it watched the girls. At minimum they should be able to use ki. Naruto nodded and circled various pictures of girls on the roster that did try to shoot. When he was done, Naruto watched the girls go about their activities before turning back to the fox. So did you sense them here? The missing pages of your books? Yeah, the lost chapters. They're in this school somewhere. Well, I could feel faint traces of dimensional magic over in that direction. Kyuubi pointed with his tail to a place somewhere on campus. So they might be here. Which ones do you need anyway? From the Tome of Heroes, I'm missing all of the chapters in Hidden Series. The Tome of Villains is I'm missing chapters 1 and 9, as well as missing a small part of 8, but I know where it is already. It's in safe hands. I mean, it would be bad if I could screw with time, right? Kyuubi stopped and thought about it for a moment. Watching with interest, Naruto saw the Kyuubi flash through various emotions. First it was interest, then fear, and finally a wave of disgust. Never screw with time, the demon lord shouted into his ear. If he finds out that he can change to time so that he can make people eat ramen on a daily basis, he would do it. Having nothing to eat but ramen. That is a terrible world. Do I make myself clear? No time screw-ups, got it. Fine. What got your panties in a twist? A nightmare that will hopefully never come true. By the way, Kit, is there anyone else in here that you know? Kyuubi asked. There was a scent here that seemed oddly familiar, yet I can't place it. Naruto scrunched his face in thought, looking fox-like as he did. I haven't been to Mahora in the past few years. At that I didn't even visit Asuna-chan back then. I had to keep my distance at the request of the old man in Bakumaiki. It was probably your imagination Q. I don't know. It seems like we've met this person rather recently. I think it just your imagination Q. We'll check it out later though, just to appease you, K. Naruto then yawned. So how much more time left before we head off for the next class? 40 minutes. Go take a nap, I'll wake you up when the time comes. Thanks Q. Naruto then closed his eyes and slowly drifted off to sleep. Kyuubi watched him for a few more moments before turning his eyes back to the girls. I wonder how that bastard Minato would react to see his kid like this. A teacher and jack of all trades. Probably boast about it. Same goes for that damnable Kushina, Kyuubi thought with a fox, then spent the rest of the time watching the girls and staying with his partner. 0. After being a substitute for gym class for another 2 classes, Naruto decided it was time to take a break and get some lunch. I wonder what restaurant here is a good place to get some grub, Naruto mused as he walked down the street, Kyuubi asleep on his shoulder. The blonde was so lost in his thoughts that he bumped into someone when he wasn't looking. Both fell to the floor with a small thud. Kyuubi was miraculously still asleep. I'm so sorry about that, I wasn't looking where I was going and well. No, it's fine, Naruto-sensei, the person replied. Naruto looked at the person so he can see who he had bumped into. She was in the Mahora uniform, and had black hair in a long ponytail. His eyes scrunched up, trying as if he saw that face before. By any chance were you in a class 1 taught today? When the girl nodded, Naruto blushed in embarrassment. Sorry, it takes a while for me to get names and faces together. Class of 3A right. Again the girl nodded. Standing up, Naruto offered his hand to help the girl up, which she was grateful for. So what's your name? Akira Okochi, seat 6 of class of 3A, Akira introduced herself. She then saw Naruto give her a flat look. Did I do something wrong? Nah, you didn't, but you know I only asked for your name. Thanks for the info though, that's one less thing to talk about during our little session together. When will we be talking by the way? I'm scheduled for tomorrow after my club activities. That would be around 4 o'clock in the afternoon. Naruto nodded. Just as he was about to speak, Naruto's stomach grumbled, causing him to laugh nervously. Ahahaha, sorry about that. I've been wandering around for a while now trying to figure out a good place to eat. Oh I see, well, down the road, and to the west of here is Chao-san's restaurant. Your classmate has a restaurant. It's more of a cart than anything else. Say no more, I'm hungry so I'll just go there. By any chance do they sell ramen? They do, but I suggest that you order their meat buns. They're really good, Akira suggested. Thanks for the suggestion. Well, I'm off. See you later, Akira-chan. Naruto thanked her and ran off. The girl was looking at him with slightly red cheeks. I don't know him that well and he's already calling me by my first name, she sighed. Turning around, Akira walked off to meet up with the 3 friends she usually hangs out with. Back with Naruto, Kyuubi had awakened after the conversation and was staring at the blonde. You should really cut back on the people you call by their first name as well as adding Chan to it. People might get the wrong impression, the fox advised. I don't know what you're talking about Q, Naruto replied, confused at what his partner was saying. Don't play dumb with me, Kit. You're saying that after 23 years of living you still haven't noticed. That is bull crap, Naruto, and you know it. Hey, guess I can't fool you, can I, Q? I know what most people would think if I call a girl like that, but old habits die hard. That being an example, the old fart didn't beat it out of me, so ha. You can blame him for the misconceptions everyone hears and sees. Even after 23 years, you are still such an annoying brat. Love you too, Q, Naruto chuckled, though you know, I'm stuck in my 17-year-old body, right? I can't change my age for too long, it depletes my magical energy and fast. So I might as well act as if I were really 17, don't ya know? You're acting as if you were 11, you dumbass. The Kyuubi growled into his ear. Meh, it's not like I care really. I mean, opponents take you less seriously if you act like an idiot, and look how we survived thus far. Act like an idiot, Kyuubi deadpanned. Kit, you're a big idiot in general. You don't need to act it. Oh, that is so hurtful, Kyuubi. How could you? Naruto cried with fake tears. Kyuubi rolled his eyes before looking forward. Somehow they had managed to get down the street without anyone questioning why Naruto was talking to his fox. That or the other reason, which Kyuubi was guessing, the people around them thought Naruto was crazy and kept away from him. Sniffing the air, Kyuubi licked his lips and showed of his teeth. Kit, I smell really good food up ahead. Shush, Naruto hushed to the fox. People might see you talking. Kyuubi rolled its eyes, but nonetheless followed what Naruto told it to do. When they got a full view of what the place looked like, there were tables scattered around a small clearing with 4 chairs to each. Behind all of them was a large green metal sort of train car. There were a couple of stools in the front of the opening of the cart. The opening itself was a large open window that showed the kitchen of the cart with people working. As far as he can tell, the establishment was rather popular. After taking it all in, Naruto decided to sit in one of the open tables. As he sat down, he watched the people go about their ways, eating food, talking with friends, and overall just enjoying their lunch break. "Naruto-sensei, what are you doing here?" he heard a girl ask him. Looking to the side, he saw Chow standing there with an apron on. "I came here to get some food. I've been pretty hungry for some time now." That and Akira-chan had suggested this place to me. Akira-chan, era, Naruto-sensei calling girls by their first name already, aren't you? The Chinese girl smirked. "I'll stop when they tell me to. Is that okay with you, Chow-chan?" Naruto smiled back at her. Chow giggled before taking out a notepad and pen from her apron. "So what will you be having?" "I want some raw ao." Chow was surprised when Naruto suddenly yelped in pain. Looking around, she saw that it also caught everyone else's attention. Turning back, she saw the blonde giving his pet fox a glare which was, oddly enough, glaring right back at him. "What the heck you do that for, Kyuubi?" Chow watched with interest as the boy and the fox kept glaring at each other before stopping a minute later. Fine, I'll be having a couple servings of your meat buns, please." "How much are they, by the way?" "It's 120 yen a bun, sensei." "Ah, 7 would be good." 7 orders of meat buns coming up, Chow replied as she wrote down his order. When she left, Naruto returned to glaring at Kyuubi. "Really? Biting my hand, you could have just whispered in my ear saying, 'Don't eat ramen.'" Naruto did in his best impression of Kyuubi's voice. Kyuubi growled at him, knowing that he can't speak aloud as long as there are a lot of people around. So they kept on the glaring contest with one another, and that was the scene Chow returned to. "Naruto-sensei, I don't think the fox will get you glaring at him." Chow then placed his order on the table. "Thanks," said the blonde without looking at her. The fox also seemed to appreciate what she did, by giving a small yip of approval. Naruto reached over and grabbed a single meat bun with his hand, while the Kyuubi took one but did not break eye contact. "Itadakimasu." They both took a bite and swallowed. When they did, they stopped their glaring contest. They looked at the food before both man and demon fox ate what they had in a matter of seconds. "Oh sweet Kami, this tastes amazing," Naruto exclaimed as he got another one. Chow giggled as she watched Kyuubi grab another one and began tearing it apart. "I'll take you eating my food at this pace as a compliment." Before she knew it, both Naruto and Kyuubi were only down to the last one. They both grabbed it at the same time and stopped. "Let go, fuzzball," Naruto threatened. Kyuubi growled back. Once again their glaring contest had begun. This again had Chow giggling. "I can make you some more if you want, Naruto-sensei," Chow offered. "I don't have that much money on me. That's why I only ordered 7, keeping it in my budget." Naruto was glaring at Kyuubi for a little longer before his eyes narrowed and he let go. "Fine, you stupid fox, take it for all I care. Next time though, we get what I want." Naruto huffed and crossed his arms over his chest. He then looked at Chow and sighed. "Thanks for the meal, Chow-chan." "No problem, Naruto-sensei." "Say Chow, I've noticed that you have a small staff here. 4 people including yourself, right?" "Hi," Chow nodded. "There's Ku-fei," the Chinese girl pointed at her dark-skinned classmate who was serving people their food. "There's also Chachimaru," Chow pointed behind him and Naruto saw the green-haired girl also serving people their food. "There's also Satsuki." Chow motioned to the cart itself where a slightly chubby girl with brown hair down in 2 pigtails was cooking happily. "And that's about it." Naruto nodded his head and smiled. "You got a good place here, Chow-chan. Good food, great service, and well, the atmosphere is relaxing. Keep it up." Naruto gave her a dazzling smile to which Chow had returned. Turning back to his partner who was laying down after eating all that food, Naruto grabbed Kyuubi by the tail and placed him on his shoulder. Fishing in his pants for money, he placed a bill on the table. "Keep the change, Chow." Naruto then walked away from the cart, with his hands in his pockets. "Thank you, come again," replied the owner of the cart. She walked over and picked up the bill he placed. Her eyes widened at what he left. "Naruto-sensei, this is too much money." Sadly he was already out of earshot. "I thought he said he was keeping it in his budget." But this is 10 times the amount that I was going to charge him. Chao frowned as she stared at the 10,000 yen note he left her. In the distance Kyubi was staring at his partner. You're growing soft, Kyubi sighed as he tried to go back to sleep. You usually don't give up that much money, Naruto. Giving them 10,000 yen instead of 1,000 for the entire meal. What were you thinking? That the waitress was very cute, Naruto chuckled. Might ask her out if I get the chance. What about Asuna? Now that is complicated. From what I've seen she's totally in love with Bakumaiki, and has forgotten all about me. Do you think she'll return my feelings like that? Nope. Ask her out first before asking out that Chao girl, you're going to regret it if you don't. Geez, when did you start to care? Q? Naruto teased the fox. Just shut up, we still have one more job to do. 0. Night had fallen on Mahora and most of the students were back at their dorms, resting peacefully. Within the dorm room of the library trio, however, someone was missing. Yu Kai, Haruna called out to the blue-haired girl reading a book. Yes, Yu replied indifferently. Where is Naruto-kun? He seems more fond of you over everyone else here, so he probably told you something, right? Nope, the mangaka had a tick mark on her forehead due to the indifference her friend was giving her. He didn't tell you anything. Why are you obsessing with Naruto-san anyways, Haruna? Yu asked, closing the book she was reading. He just got here and you're willing to jump his pants. Like I said, he is one nice piece of man, Haruna replied with drool coming out of her mouth. Her expression then changed as she became thoughtful. Though it would be good to see what he is like though. His personality and all that. If he turns out to be a great person, I might try to date him. Other than that, all he is a specimen to my research. So you're using him for your own personal gain. Haruna face faulted when she heard that. Well, if you put it that way it makes me seem like a bad person. That won't put me on his good side, would it? Yu resisted the urge to face palm as she heard that. She turned to the last person in the room. Nodoka, let's go take a bath, and leave Haruna to herself. Hi, Nodoka told her. Grabbing some towels, as well as putting on some swimsuits just in case Negi was there, the girls left the room and headed towards the bath. When they got there they were surprised to see everyone else there, though they were without swimsuits. What is everyone doing here? The purple-haired librarian asked. Since Negi-kun isn't here at the moment, we all decided it was a good time to just have an all-girls bath, Maki told the two. We even dragged Chisame with us. Yu and Nodoka looked at the grumbling girl off to the corner. So come join us. The two librarians looked at each other before shrugging. They went to the large bath and sat down with everyone else. Everyone was busy talking about random stuff, and as time went on someone asked the question a few girls were wondering. Hey Asuna, where is Negi-sensei anyway? Fumika asked. He's out with Naruto, Asuna sighed as she cleaned herself. The brat decided to help the idiot with his work so they can bond. She used air quotes on the word bond. Why is that? Fuka asked. From what my grandfather told me, Naruto-sensei is supposedly Negi-kun's godfather, Kanoka told them. What? Everyone exclaimed. 0. At the same time off in another dorm house, Naruto and Negi were in the empty bathhouse. Naruto was wearing a pair of gray sweats and an orange shirt, while Negi had on a blue shirt and gray sweats as well. The two had mops and buckets and were cleaning the place. Off to the side Kyubi had met up with Negi's partner, a white ermine named Albert Chamomile, though he preferred to be called Chamo. Hey Negi, Naruto called out to the young boy. Negi looked up and saw Naruto had stopped mopping the bath floor for a moment. Yes, Naruto-san, Negi asked. Ah, at least you picked up on it my name faster than some of the girls, Naruto chuckled. I'd like to thank you for helping me today. I mean you took time out of your busy day to help me out. It's fine Naruto-san, I was willing to help you, besides that you were giving me stories about my father. It really was nice to hear things about him. No problem, I'm glad to help. Besides for some odd reason your dad made me your godfather and I have a lot of time to make up for. 10 years of helping, so if you need anything ask me, save for magic teaching. I can't help there since my magic is unique. That's fine Naruto-san, you being here now is good enough for me, and well I'll find another teacher for it. Off to the side the two talking animals were watching with amusement. So this is how your kid is, huh? Kyubi asked. Yup, Aniki is awesome, he's smart and strong with magic, though he is a bit dull on the romantic side of life, Chamo sighed. It's fine, my partner is good with combat magic, great at his job and finally showing maturity. Sadly though he still is an idiot. Though if I tell Naruto that the boy doesn't know about love like that, we can get him to give him the talk. Kyuubi then chuckled, sorry about that. I just remembered Naruto's talk with his sensei. Oh, how'd that go? I'll tell you when we're out of earshot from him, but let's just say that it was rather awkward for him to talk to his childhood friend without becoming flustered. The Ermine started to laugh, trying to imagine what that scene would look like, regardless that he didn't know the girl. Hey you two animals, Naruto shouted, we're going now. The two stopped talking and went over to their respective boys and climbed up to their shoulders. Hey Negi, have you ever teleported before? Naruto then placed a hand on Negi's free shoulder. No Naruto-san, why do you ask? The redhead questioned his godfather. Then I'm glad you haven't had dinner. This may be painful on your stomach. Underneath the group a large sky blue ring appeared. Reverse polarity. With a flash of sky blue light the two disappeared from sight. Though there was a very girly scream accompanying them. 0. The small group appeared in front of the bathhouse of the dorm of 3A, with the very same blue ring appearing in front of the door. Naruto was still holding onto Negi's shoulder as the boy tilted back and forth, a bit dizzy from what just happened. You okay Nagi? I'm fine, just a little dizzy, Negi replied, trying to get his equilibrium back together. After a moment, the redhead composed himself and nodded at the blonde. Naruto smiled and ruffled his hair, before turning to the pale Ermine whose face was stuck in a screaming visage. Chamo-kun, are you alright? He'll get over it, he took it worse than Bakumaiki too. Let's finish up yeah. When Negi nodded the two opened the doors to the bathhouse and froze. All commotion in the bathhouse stopped as well. The two groups were staring at each other. Everyone blushing, save for Kyuubi, who was loving every moment of it. Naruto slammed the door, and turned back to Negi. So will there be any chance any of them will hurt us for doing that? Asuna-san would have guessed so. Negi, Naruto, you're so dead, Asuna yelled. Naruto groaned, grabbed Negi and teleported away. When the two reappeared they were on the roof of the dorm and watched, as Asuna seemed to be looking for them. What a first day huh? Naruto asked Kyuubi. Having woken up early, Naruto had managed to slip out of the room without waking Haruna, Yu and Nodoka. He grabbed Kyuubi by the tail and dragged him to the baths to get ready for the day. He was dressed in a white jacket, black shirt and blue pants with black and white sneakers. The shirt was outlined around the edges with white lines, while the jacket was outlined in black. This is what he will wear from now on, except sometimes the shirt and jacket will be switched in colors. As he returned to the room, Naruto saw that his roommates were still asleep. Man, I thought they usually wake up earlier than this, Naruto whispered. You were talking all night with Haruna and you about your travels around the world, it is expected, Kyuubi replied as he got comfortable on the futon Naruto had bought for their use. You should wake them up somehow. I think I should make breakfast then. Naruto walked to the kitchen part of the room and looked through the fridge. Let's see, what should we make? A traditional Japanese breakfast sounds good. What do you say Q? Too typical, why not something from another country? Like what? Get some French food. Naruto thought about it for a second and nodded. Fine, a traditional French breakfast it is. We don't have most of the stuff needed here though. You made another pocket dimension, remember? We have dozens of them, the one you want is the one we keep our cold foods in. Kyuubi rolled his eyes. He couldn't help but feel exasperated at his partner's idiocy sometimes. Right, Naruto snapped his fingers and a tiny portal appeared in front of him. Naruto stepped through and disappeared. Where he reappeared looked like a gigantic cold storage of any typical restaurant. Going to the side, he summoned a shopping basket to collect his food in. Walking through the large shelves he looked for what he needed. Grabbing a baguette, chocolate paste, various other sweet spreads, several cups of coffee, orange juice, milk and fruits, Naruto made his completed list. When he had finished, Naruto opened a small portal and reappeared back in the dorm. Looking at the clock making him smirk, he spent a good 5 minutes in the other dimension, but it looked like only a minute passed in this place. You grabbed the food already? Kyuubi asked, getting up onto the table. Your control over dimensional magic has gotten a lot better. I know, right? Sadly I still can't make a big jump to the elemental nations or another dimension. I mean, pocket dimensions are easy to make, but links to completely different dimensions themselves are nearly impossible. The fox nodded in acceptance. Naruto then turned to the stove and started breakfast. Time skip. Haruna opened one eye when she smelled coffee in the air. She groggily got up and rubbed the sleep out of her eyes. The mangaka reached over to her nightstand and grabbed her glasses. As she got up from her bed and walked over to the table she spoke up. You, Nodoka, what did you guys cook? She asked as she sat down at the table. We didn't make anything, Yu replied as she sat down next to her friend. The coffee smells wonderful though. It tastes really good too, Nodoka replied after taking a sip. That was when the other two took a sip of their drinks. Their eyes opened in a bit of shock. They looked down and saw that the cups were huge as well. They also saw an array of breads, jams and fruits on the table. There was even a small pitcher of orange juice. It's like a latte, but it tastes different, Yu replied. Though it tastes really good. It really does, Haruna agreed. But who had the time to make all of this though? Naruto then appeared from the bathroom with a toothbrush in his hand. Oh hey girls, Naruto greeted. I see you started breakfast. You made all of this? Yu asked. Well, I only made the coffee, Naruto scratched his cheek. I mean everything else is just from the market. I mean getting jams and all that is easy. Yu nodded as she bit into a croissant with some butter in it. What did you put into the coffee? Nodoka asked, completely forgetting that Naruto was a man she would usually be nervous around. There's hot milk and a little bit of cinnamon in it. The blonde looked at the watch on his arm and sighed. Girls, I have to go to work. The headmaster is giving me my jobs today. Naruto nodded at them and grabbed his helmet, and Kyuubi already went outside the door. As he left, the girls were still eating breakfast. You know, Haruna started as she ate a baguette with some chocolate on it. This is a really good simple meal, but there is a question I have asked. What? Yu asked. We didn't have any of this last night, so when did Naruto find time to get all of this food? Yu shrugged, thinking it was too early to think of something like this. Maybe it was magic, Yu replied. This caused Nodoka to stop eating some fruits for a moment. Is Naruto-san magical like Negi-sensei? I mean he is his godfather, so it is possible, she thought to herself. Time skip. After getting his jobs from Konaman, Naruto sat on a bench looking at the list. Let's see, what are we supposed to be doing today, Q? Naruto asked. Kyuubi was looking over the paper Naruto laid on the bench. Well, you only have 4 jobs today, Kyuubi told him. Great, 2 more than yesterday, Naruto sarcastically replied. Kyuubi rolled his eyes and stated them out loud. Your first job is to take care of some kids at a daycare. That sounds easy, I mean kids are great. Kyuubi nodded his head. As long as they don't feel like petting me or putting me into a hug with a vice grip, I'm good. What's after that? Painting a building. After that you. Oh, this is interesting one, Kyuubi said with an amused tone. What is it? Hey, you have to teach some 12-year-old girls about sex. Naruto seemed to choke on air when Kyuubi said that. Ha 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 ha. Kyuubi started laughing, as Naruto seemed to choke to death on air. Damn it, the first thing I do have to teach today and it has to be how to make babies, Naruto grumbled. What's the last thing I have to do? A request from a single person actually. That Chow girl wants your help with something. It doesn't say what it is though. Odd, most single person requests only go through my other job. Whatever kid, let's just do this. Remember, you still have to meet up with some girls from that class 3A. Right, so let's do this already. 0. Naruto and Kyuubi appeared at a daycare center and walked right through the front door. The blonde smiled at all the little kids running around before walking up to an elderly woman. Ah, excuse me ma'am, I was told by the headmaster to help out here for a bit, Naruto told her in completely practiced etiquette. Ah, you must be Naruto-kun. Konaman told me you were coming, the old lady said. Ma'am, it's Naruto, not Naruto. What are you just standing there for, Naruto-kun? The kids won't play with themselves, you know. Naruto's left eye twitched as he followed the old woman to the back of the daycare. Kyuubi was smirking at him while he followed her. My name is not that hard to get. It's Naruto. Hell, it's even a part of ramen, yet she keeps calling me Naruto, Naruto grumbled. Can you really blame her, Kit? Kyuubi whispered. I mean she is old. Naruto frowned. Well, Konaman is old, hell the old geezer is old, yet they can remember my name. Kyuubi just laughed under his breath as they appeared in front of a group of kids. Listen up kiddies, the old woman called out to various kids that looked around the ages of 4 to 6 years old. Naruto-kun here has volunteered to help us entertain you while he's here. Treat him well, okay? The old woman then turned to Naruto and gave him a smile. They are all yours, Naruto-kun. Naruto nodded his head, but his eyes were still twitching from getting his name wrong. When the old woman was out of the room, Naruto looked at the kids. Well, my name is Naruto Uzumaki, not Naruto, Naruto introduced himself. He then pointed towards Kyuubi. This guy here is Kyuubi, he is my pet fox and partner in crime since I was born. A little girl in the back raised her hand. Ah yes. Can we pet him? The girl asked. Naruto looked at Kyuubi, and the fox was shaking his head. Not yet, he's still pretty touchy on being touched. The girl deflated considerably when he told her that. But how about this? For the time I'm here I'll tell you guys a story my teacher told me. What's it about? A little boy asked. It's about a man who went to fight a dragon. Will there be a princess in the story? Another girl asked. Yes. Is there action? Some other boy in another part of the room asked. There is lots of action. Do you want to hear it? Hi. The kids cheered. Well, the story goes like this. 0. Why the hell did someone kidnap Theodora? A younger Naruto asked no one in particular. He looked about 14 years old, but he was really 20. He had gone alone to save his childhood friend from some dragon of sorts. I mean she's loud, brash, and really packs a punch if you piss her off enough. Why not some other princess? Naruto kept walking through the forest he was in and ended up in a clearing full of dead grass. Great, now where the hell did that thing take her? Put me down you stupid lizard. Naruto heard a woman shout irritably nearby. I should have known. I just have to follow the shouting. Naruto deadpanned as he ran towards the shouting. When Naruto arrived, he saw a large red dragon with only 2 feet holding a 20-year-old Theodora in its feet. I said let me go damn it. Theodora then punched the dragon's leg with all her might. The dragon itself actually roared in pain and dropped her. Ah, I'm going to kill you, you stupid lizard even before I die. As she kept plummeting, she kept glaring at the large red dragon. Her falling stopped though when she felt herself being caught in someone's arms. Looking up she saw Naruto. On his back was a large single black wing on his right side. You're making me waste my X mode for you, you know that. Naruto seemed to say with a hint of annoyance in his voice. He looked her over to make sure she wasn't bruised or anything. Her blonde hair had gotten longer since the last time he saw her. She was wearing a black one-piece suit that ended at the top of her thighs. Most of the middle of the suit was missing, showing a good amount of cleavage, her flat stomach and the tattoos on her chest. White detached sleeves that went to her biceps were on her arms, while some sort of battle skirt was around her waist. On her legs were long thigh-high boots. Canon negima clothes. Shut up and land already. Naruto rolled his eyes and did just that. As he touched down he promptly dropped Theodora on her butt. What the hell was that for? She shouted as she got up. Dusting herself free of dirt, she glared at her friend who had returned to normal. Seriously, I dropped you on your ass for getting kidnapped. Naruto shouted back. I mean really, do I have to save you almost every week now? You can just call me up you know. Go. Hey let's go watch a movie, go to the park or something. Saving your butt every week is not my idea of a good time. Well, excuse me, not my fault that stupid lizard decided to kidnap me when I was at the pet store. This thing was in a pet store. Yeah, why were you getting a pet in the first place? Theodora mumbled something under her breath and Naruto frowned. I couldn't hear that. A roar interrupted them from continuing their little conversation. The two looked to the side and saw the dragon roaring at them. We'll finish this later. I'm going to beat this thing down, maybe sell some of its hide for money. Who knows how much I already lost due to the old geezer. You still work for Rakan? Theodora asked surprised. What you think I moved out? We have a good business going on, it'd be stupid to leave there now. The dragon then charged them, and Naruto grabbed the princess and jumped out of the way. Seriously that thing is pissing me off. Just beat it already then. Naruto rolled his eyes. Grabbing his Pactio, he held it in his right hand and shouted. Adit. There was a small flash of light, and in his hands was a large black sword with gold engravings all across the blade. Naruto placed his right foot in front of him and pulled back his left. Placing the sword into the ground next to him, Naruto waited for the dragon to charge again. He didn't even have to wait a minute for the dragon to do so. Hey Naruto, what are you doing? Theodora screamed as she saw him just waiting for the dragon to come towards him. The dragon opened its mouth as it loomed over Naruto. Bringing its head down, the dragon expected an easy meal. It was sadly mistaken. Naruto waved his right hand and a shield made out of pure ki appeared. Not only did it block the attack, it repelled the dragon back a couple of feet. Naruto then grabbed the blade and held it in both hands and ran towards the dragon. As the beast got up, Naruto jumped into the air and sliced the dragon twice in the face. It roared in pain, but Naruto wasn't done. The blonde took up a blue energy around him and he slammed the large blade into the dragon's head. The blade then gave off a bright light and 6 different blades appeared all around the dragon, 5 around it with one above its head. Naruto glided over to the one above it and did a downward slash, leaving an aura-projected version of himself. He then flew to another blade before slashing the dragon again. Repeating the process several times, Naruto was cutting the dragon with a different blade, each leaving an aura of himself after the attack. After 6 slices, Naruto did one more downward slash from above and exclaimed, "Omnilash Verizon 5." When he landed on the ground after the attack, the dragon fell over, dead. The blades then all fused back together and disappeared back into his card. He then turned towards Theodora. "Let's go back, yeah." The princess nodded and the blonde took the lead back towards her castle. "Sorry for making you worry," Theodora sighed as the two walked along the forest. "Don't worry about it. I mean, you don't intentionally get yourself kidnapped to make me go save you." "Actually I do," the princess admitted. Naruto paused and looked at her as if she were crazy. "What? I don't get to see you often anymore, okay? I mean, sure, I know you're busy with work and I'm busy being a royal, but I miss my best friend, you know. I was thinking along the lines that if you won't hang out with me during your free time, then I can make you hang out with me during work." Naruto sighed and scratched the back of his head. "Damn, you should have said something, you know." Naruto frowned. "I would make time to just mess around with you. I mean, we are best friends. So, sorry about that. How about this? Every Saturday and Sunday we just put off what we're doing and hang out, alright?" Theodora nodded her head and smiled at him. "Good. Now let's go get some lunch." "Sweet. You're paying for it," Theodora told him with a spring in her step. "What? No, I am not wasting another drachma today. I'm nearly broke." The princess of the Hellas Empire stopped and looked at him for a moment. "Fine, I'll pay on one condition." Theodora slowly walked behind a confused Naruto as she spoke. "What is that?" Naruto was then surprised when Theodora jumped onto his back and circled her legs around his waist and her arms around his neck. What the heck, Theodora? "Carry me, my horse." "I'm not your horse," Naruto retorted to her. However, he did not drop her. He placed his hands around her legs and hefted her up a bit. "Hey, did you get lighter?" "You noticed?" Theodora asked as she rested her head on his shoulder. When Naruto nodded, she smirked and blushed, but he couldn't see it. "Well, my dad has been getting me suitors recently and I wanted to look great for them. So I decided to lose some weight." "You don't need to do that. You looked beautiful the way you were," Naruto replied, being completely oblivious to the blushing girl on his shoulder. "Well, where do you want to eat, since you're paying your majesty? Does barbecue sound good?" The blonde nodded again. "Then we go off for barbecue. Onward, my horse. To lunch we go." 0. Now, as Naruto told his story, he had to change it up a lot. He changed the names of the characters, took out the arguing and put some romance into it for the girls. Even though it was a true story, Naruto changed it so the kids would be entertained. And they lived happily ever after. The end. The children clapped when he finished and Naruto smirked. "Good job, Naruto-kun. Your hour here is up," the old lady told him. Naruto got up and smiled at the kids. "Bye, kids. Just ask your old lady here to ask my boss if you guys want me to come back again," Naruto told the kids. They all cheered and said that they would do so. As he left, Kyuubi was smiling at Naruto. "What are you smiling about?" "Nothing. I'm just going to tell Theodora about what you told the kids," Kyuubi told him. "I mean, just imagine what she would do. Probably laugh her ass off at that sort of thing. I mean, I saw what you were thinking, kid, and compared it to what you were saying. Have to say the mushy kid stuff you spoke was pretty funny." "Whatever, Q. Tell her what you want." I had to change it up so the kids could remain interested. Naruto put his hands in his pockets and kept walking, never noticing the smile on his partner's face. "Stupid kid doesn't even know that the princess is pining for him since the get-go," Kyuubi thought to himself. His smile turned into a smirk. "Ooh, Rakan should hear about this." 0. Naruto had spent most of that day on his next project. The building he had to paint wasn't really a building at all, but a doghouse for the same old lady from the daycare. It was a really simple job, but it took up so much of his time because the old lady kept changing her mind on what color to make it. He went back to the daycare to paint the doghouse. First she wanted it to be red, so he painted it red. As he was about to leave, she changed her mind and wanted it blue. So this went on for a couple of hours, with the lady wanting to change the colors, and the kids watching him paint the same thing over and over. When they finished, Naruto had painted the doghouse at least 20 times, and now it was a black in color with a red roof. So now he was standing outside his new assignment. Looking through a small window, he saw that the girls he was supposed to talk about sex with Opening the door, the talking in the class quieted down and the white-haired female instructor smiled at Naruto. "Ah, it's you. My name is Tuko Kuzonoha." She smiled at Naruto and Kyuubi, but the blonde could feel the underlying killing intent coming from her. He gave Kyuubi a quick glance. "Did we do anything to upset this person?" Naruto asked through their mental link. "She was one of the people you beat up on your first night here," Kyuubi replied. "Damn," Naruto whispered under his breath. "Hello, my name is Naruto Uzumaki, the little fox on my shoulder is Kyuubi. It is a pleasure to make your acquaintance. So, to be sure, what is it that you want me to do again?" "Explain the concept of sex and the reproductive organs to these girls here," Tuko told him with a bright smile. Naruto turned to the blushing girls and gulped. "Do you have any reference material by any chance?" When Tuko shook her head, Naruto had to hold back a groan. He then turned to the girls and asked, "Do you girls have any idea what sex is about?" "Why yes," was the stuttered collective answer. "Can anyone tell me what happens at least, to know where I can go off of?" A girl in the middle of class raised her hand. She had bright red hair, done into two buns that had small ponytails coming off of them. "Yes, you, what is your name?" "Mei Sakura, Uzumaki-sensei," Mei answered. "Don't call me that please, Mei-chan, call me Naruto-sensei at most." Mei nodded her head. "Okay, now tell me, what do you know about sex?" "It is when a man inserts his penis into a woman's vagina. They have intercourse, and when he ejaculates, he puts his seed into the woman's uterus, then into the ovaries, where the girl's eggs are." Girls were blushing, and Naruto was scratching his head. "Well, yeah, that's basically it." Naruto turned to Tuko, who was smiling at him still. "Why did you ask me to come here and teach the girls, if they already know about it?" "Oh, is that what Kono Dono wrote down?" Tuko asked. "Silly me, I wanted your help talking about your experience with it." Naruto coughed and blushed as she stated that. The girls were also blushing too as Tuko smiled. Naruto could still feel the malicious intent coming off of her. "Is she really that mad at me for beating her up yesterday?" He thought. Fine. What would you want me to say to the girls?" "Rather," Naruto turned to the students, who were all still blushing, "what do you want me to say?" "See, can you tell us about your first time, Naruto-sensei?" A different girl asked. Naruto blushed deeper this time, while Tuko seemed to blush as well. Heck, everyone in the room was blushing wildly, all except Kyuubi. "I'm sure Naruto-san hasn't done it yet," Tuko replied in embarrassment to the girl. No, I have," Naruto replied sheepishly, his cheeks flushed. On his shoulder, Kyuubi looked confused as he looked at his partner. "When the hell did you do something like that, Kit?" he asked mentally. "You'll hear about it now," the blonde answered. "I may look young, but I'm a lot older than I am, so whatever I did was legal for sure. It happened about 2 years ago, December 19th was the date, around 10 o'clock at night." "How can you remember that?" a student asked, surprised. "The person who I did do it with would get mad at me if I forgot important dates in our lives. Probably send an army after me too." "Is she your girlfriend?" Mei curiously asked. "To be honest, I don't know what my standing is with Theodora anymore," Naruto replied with some confusion and annoyance. "I swear sometimes she acts like my sister, sometimes my girlfriend, and in very rare times acts like a wife. One who beats her husband for doing stupid stuff." A small thump was heard in the class and Naruto could feel weight being lifted from his shoulder. Looking down, he saw Kyuubi fell to the floor with wide eyes. "Huck you all right?" Kyuubi nodded his head before Naruto turned back to the girls. "Well, I won't go into detail about it, but our first time was during one of the times her dad wanted to get her to marry." "Like an arranged marriage?" some student in the back asked. "Yeah, sort of like that. Before all of this, Theodora and I have been experimenting with each other, kissing, making out, etc. I swear I thought we were dating during that, but man, I'm always confused by her actions. Though I'm thinking that she just needed an escape from the obligations she had to her family sometimes, and being her best friend I provided that in different ways. So one day, in an act of rebellion, she asked me to have sex with her. It was due to the fact that she really didn't like the suitor her dad chose that time. I'll be honest though, it was not what I was expecting. She was in pain for the beginning, and well, it didn't last long, maybe a couple of minutes. I think I spent most of the time wondering if she was okay or not. So that was our first time. Though after a couple minutes of rest, she decided to try again, and that one was different. I can't tell you the details since you're kids, but it was one hell of a good time for us. I bet it was the same for you and your husband Tuko-san." The white-haired woman nodded, but had to fight down a blush of embarrassment. Are there any more questions? You don't have to. More time went by than I thought, Tuko interrupted him. You can go now. Ah, thanks. Naruto picked up the still catatonic Kyuubi and walked out of the room, and out of the building. When they were safely away from it, Kyuubi spoke up. Why didn't you tell me that you and Theodora had hit the sack? Kyuubi asked. To be honest, I know you and the old geezer would tease me for it. That, and as I said before, I explained everything, I have absolutely no idea where I stand with her anymore. I swear I'm like her unofficial fiancé or something, and don't go accusing me of being dense Q. I know that she has some feelings for me, but can't she just make it, I don't know, clear? The woman mind is a strange thing. I agree. Then the day her father found out what we did, he had the Vrixho Nagasha after me when I stepped onto the freaking lawn. The freaking Vrixho Nagasha. He had one of the most powerful beasts in existence after you. The sacred guardian beast of the Hellas Empire after you, for getting in his daughter's pants. Naruto nodded. Well, that makes sense, seeing as normal weapons and conventional magic wouldn't scare you. I was scared shitless, to be honest, Naruto shuddered. That thing just intimidated me to no end. I mean, I could probably fight it, to weaken it, but other than that, I don't think I can handle it without a good few days of preparing to fight it. The demonic fox on his shoulder nodded his head. Let's finish this, so we can get on your 30-minute dates with all those girls. They are not dates, Naruto deadpanned. I'm just getting to know them better. Kyuubi rolled his eyes before yawning. Whatever you say, I'm going to take a nap. Don't wake me. Naruto looked at his watch and saw that he had about an hour before going to his work with Chao. Naruto shrugged. Might as well get some training in. Looking around to see if anyone could see him, and no one could, the blonde snapped his fingers, causing a tiny portal to appear before him. Walking through it, he entered a small arena. It only had 4 walls that surrounded him on each side, while on the floor were lines that symbolized where the edges of the arena was. To the far wall from him stood a door. When it opened, a crystalline version of Rakan appeared. Naruto placed down Kyuubi on a bench and entered the field. Wonder what level this thing is. Battle program set. Fighter. Jack Rakan. Battle level. 80. Naruto's face fell. Well, damn. Naruto had only enough time to dodge out of the way from the attacking mannequin and pulled out both of his Pactios. I might be late to that meeting with Chao. Adit. In his right hand was a blade, but the hilt was different. It looked like a gun handle. Around his neck was a white pendant with a gold chain. In the center was a spiral. Soldier mode. The white jacket he was wearing became bright red in color, while the black shirt became green. Opening his left hand, another chaotic trump appeared, this time in the large broadsword he used against the red dragon back in his memories. Let's get this over with. 0. Chao was waiting silently at her shop for Naruto to appear. He still had a few minutes left before their appointed time, but he seemed to be on time all the time. Hey Chao-chan, Naruto greeted. Looking up, Chao gasped. Naruto looked bruised and a bit beaten, the usual pet fox was missing. What happened to you, Naruto-sensei? The Chinese girl asked, ushering him over to a chair. Taking a seat, Chao offered him some aid, to which he declined. Nothing really, just got too ahead of myself in training. Damned robot my friend made proved almost too much for me, but I showed him. Naruto smiled to assure the girl. If you say so, Chao replied, still unsure of what to say to the blonde due to his state. So what do you need my help with, Chao-chan? Now Chao smiled. I have this project I'm working on for the school festival in 2 weeks' time. I would like to hire you for your assistance. Naruto leaned forward and got into his business mode, leaving all traces of the fun-loving blonde behind. I'm listening, but I have to warn you. I charge differently than most people. Depending on what you ask my help for, I may charge you something you can't give. I'm willing to pay any price, Naruto-sensei. Okay, this is how we're going to do this, Q, Naruto stated as he stared at his partner. We are going to each of the girls on the class roster, and ask them a few simple things. Their name, their likes, dislikes, hobbies, dreams. And measurements, Kyuubi interjected. And their measurements. Wait, what? Naruto gave a light glare at the fox. Haha, Q, real funny. I know for sure they are not going to be telling me the size of their bust, waist and hips. The demon shrugged his shoulders. It was worth a shot, Kit. So what else are you going to ask them? If they would like to bear my children, Naruto replied with all the seriousness in his voice. That had caused Kyuubi to choke on air, as even he too was surprised by what the blonde mage had said. What, you won't ask for their sizes, but you'd ask them to sleep with you? I didn't think you'd have the gall for that. Naruto smacked Kyuubi on the back of his head. What was that for? I was kidding about that too. Naruto shouted back, I'm just going to ask when their birthday is. Sheesh, Kyuubi, you should get that mind of yours out of the gutter. The fox gave the blonde a dry look. Kid, I'm in a school full of middle and high school girls around. They are all in amazing looking uniforms, and walking around me every day. How can I not have my mind in the gutter? Kyuubi growled before walking away. Go do those stupid interviews now. I'm going to be listening in the entire time. Hopping onto his shoulders, Kyuubi perched himself on the blonde's shoulders. Naruto frowned at the fox as it kept staring forward. Kami, I swear this lifestyle we've been living the past 2 months on Earth, just going around doing odd and end jobs, has made you lazy. Hey, it's mostly work of human size. Chances of needing me in either this size or my full size are pretty slim. Naruto would have glared at the fox, but decided that he'd just be wasting his time if he did. So just ignoring the fox, the blonde went onwards to his various interviews. Note: I will not go by the unmade chronological schedule in the story. I'll just go alphabetically, to make things easier. And I will be doing this for every girl there in the class. Interview 1. Seo Isaka. That's odd, Naruto mumbled to himself. I don't recall seeing a Seo during the gym class. Maybe she was sick. Or maybe you can just ask your godson. He is their teacher after all, Kyuubi suggested. True. Ambling through the small building, Naruto went in search for the red-haired 10-year-old. He found the child teacher in the teacher's lounge grading some papers. Negi. The boy raised his head and met with the eyes of his godfather. Ah, how can I help you, Naruto? Asked Negi. I'm having meetings with the girls to get to know them better, but I can't seem to find this one. Was Seo Isaka absent when I was teaching gym? Oh, to be honest, I don't know much about Seo-san as well. She seems to never be in class. Negi looked around before whispering. Some people think she's a ghost. A ghost? Really now? That's interesting. Naruto kept staring for a bit before shrugging his shoulders. Well, I'll interview her when she decides to come up to me if she has free time. Naruto turned around and left the building. As he stepped out, the blonde didn't notice the demon fox on his shoulders looking into the window for the homeroom of Class 3A. Inside the classroom was a spectral image of a girl with gray hair who was looking at the fox oddly. Kyuubi raised its tail and waved it. Surprised that the fox saw her, she waved back and smiled at it. After seeing her wave, Kyuubi lied back down and drifted off to sleep. Interview 2. Yuna Akashi. Hey Yuna, Naruto greeted as he met the girl at a basketball court. It was in the afternoon, and the girl had just finished practice. Hey Naruto-sensei, the basketball player greeted. She adjusted the ponytail on her right side and started fanning herself a bit. She was hot and sweaty from the looks of things. Good workout, huh? The blonde smirked as he threw a water bottle from the bench on the sidelines to her. Thanks. Yuna sighed as she drank from the bottle. Taking a seat next to the blonde on the bench, Yuna finished the bottle before looking at him. So what do you want to talk about, Naruto-sensei? Well, I want to talk about you, to be honest. Yuna pointed at herself and the blonde mage nodded. Yes, I want to talk about you. So, what are your likes, dislikes, hobbies, dream, and as well as your birthday? That's not so bad then. So let me introduce myself again. Standing up, Yuna cleared her throat, smiled, and stuck out her hand. Hi there. Name's Yuna Akashi, C2 of Class 3A. Naruto smirked and took her hand. Hi Yuna, my name is Naruto Uzumaki. Temporary teacher of Mahora and overall jack of all trades. Jack of all trades. I do a little bit of everything. I will do almost anything, for a price. So you'd rob a bank if you were paid to? Yuna teased, with a smirk. Yup, Naruto replied, his voice having no humor in it at all. You're kidding, right? I am not kidding. I will steal from a bank, depending on what cut I get. He stopped talking and frowned. I'm surprised no one has asked me to do that yet. That comment had left Yuna's mouth hanging. So what are you like? Yuna blinked and shook her head. Well, I like basketball, relaxing, and my dad. I don't like it when women hit on my dad, bad clothes and sloppy lifestyles. My hobbies are playing basketball, hanging out with my friends, good food and having fun. What else? I'm not sure what my dream is yet at the moment, so I'll get back to you on that one. And my birthday is June 1st, 1988. Naruto nodded his head and wrote it down on a notepad he got from his jacket. Thanks, I'll remember that. Try to at least. So on your birthday I'll get you a gift. Why are you going to do that? Not that I don't want one, but why? The blonde shrugged in response. I just want to be nice, I'm going to be doing it for the rest of the girls in this class too. But why? Let's just say, you guys accepting the challenge on the day we met made me have mad respect to you guys for that. Looking at his watch he frowned. Well, that conversation went faster than I expected. I have about 20 minutes with you left. You want to play basketball? Yuna offered. Sure, she was tired, but hell, it was her favorite sport. Naruto smirked. Okay then, but let's spice things up. If I win, you let me treat you to dinner. Yuna's eyes widened at the offer. And if I win? The smirk on the boy's face turned feral. I'll take you out to dinner for free. I didn't know you had that kind of money. I am so wanting a buffet then. You better win then. Naruto grabbed the ball from the floor and walked to the three-point line. Dribbling it a few times, he shot the ball, only for it to go in with no problem whatsoever. Yuna gaped, before getting a determined smile on her face. First to 21 then. At the end of the 20 minutes Yuna won the match, 21-18. Naruto told her that while he knew how to play, he was just lucky with all the shots he made. So, Naruto ended up paying for her and himself at a buffet. Interview 3. Kazumi Asakura. Gah, my eyes. The blonde shouted as he rubbed his eyes. The flash of a camera catching him off guard. As he rubbed his eyes he tried her to giggling from nearby. Haha, real funny Asakura. Thank you Naruto-sensei, the red-haired girl replied. Did you seriously have to flash the camera the moment I stepped into the room? No, I didn't have to, but I thought it would be a good picture. After blinking out the lights from his eyes he sat down across from her in the empty classroom. Okay, let's get this over with. I still haven't gotten my morning coffee yet. Asakura nodded. I take it you know what I'm asking for from the other girls. Of course. Likes, dislikes, hobbies, dreams, and when my birthday is right. This time Naruto nodded. Got it. My name is Kazumi Asakura, seat 3. My birthday is on January 10th. I like to get the inside scoop on any story, especially juicy gossip. What I don't like is people leading me down a false trail and great evil. At that part she frowned. Well, as you can tell my hobbies is collecting stories. It's even more blatant since I'm in the newspaper club. My dream is to find a story that will make me famous worldwide, and spread my name. Asakura ended up standing up with her fist pumped into the air as she said that sentence. My what an interesting dream you got there, Naruto replied, a smirk on his face. I hope you fulfill it. He got up and was about to leave, but the reporter stopped him. Naruto-sensei, I have a question for you before you go off to the next interview or get your coffee. The blonde raised his eyebrow. Since you are Negi's godfather, are you able to use magic? You're a reporter, Naruto stated, figure it out. After saying that the blonde left the room, leaving a very excited redhead. Ooh, a challenge. Bring it on sensei. Interview 4. You ace. What's cracking you Chan? Naruto asked as he grabbed a book from the shelf in the library they were in. Sitting down at the table, he leafed through the contents pages before closing it. Kyuubi was sniffing around trying to find something. The blonde had helped organize some books in the beginning. Nothing much, Naruto-sensei, the librarian replied as she sipped her drink. Yu took in a deep breath and before Naruto could react she just started spouting out words. Seat 4. Birthday. November 16, 1988. Likes. Reading books. Dislikes. Studying for school. Hobbies. Reading books, philosophical conversations. Dream. None at the moment. She finished by taking a sip from a juice carton. Naruto blinked several times before slowly nodding his head. Okay. Then, I take it you didn't want to talk about yourself too much. No, I don't mind talking about myself. I just want to know if you know magic, or rather confess you do know magic. Oh, how do you figure that out? If Negi's father knew you enough to choose you as a godfather for his son, that means you knew him for a good amount of time. That also means you probably fought with him back then. This concludes that you were a part of the Ala Rubra, thus a magician. The blonde sat there for a moment, but smiled. Kyuubi hopped up onto the table and was chuckling. Well kid, it seems like this girl has some brains on her, Kyuubi laughed. Yeah, kind of figured that out since she said she was in the library club and liked to read, he told his partner. Turning to Yu he smiled at her, causing her to blush a little bit. Okay, I admit I do know magic, although I'm more of a mage swordsman than anything else. To prove his point, Naruto summoned Chaotic Trump and had a small dagger in his hands. I'm still currently looking for the missing pages of my tomes. I've found some recently through my short trip to Library Island. Tomes? Yu asked, since he just piqued her interest. You see, they're tomes that I have where I learned my magic from. The pages were scattered here on Earth as well as the magical world where I was trained. Currently I have 22 feet chapters, you could say. I'm missing 8 more chapters. I had found 2 recently at Library Island, when I visited yesterday. And if my guess is correct, there are more within the deeper levels of that place, Kyubi replied. So you're looking for these tomes too? Yu asked. Hell yeah, Naruto shouted. If anything, this will be my first treasure hunt in months. I feel so excited to find them. I mean, more spells to learn. More ways to get stronger. And when I mastered all the chapters, I'm going to challenge the old fart for all my money he so wrongfully wasted. You're still going on about that? Kyubi sighed. Why, what happened with Naruto-sensei and who this old fart is? You used air quotes around old fart. You see, the kid here is very lucky. He doesn't even know how to play a game and could win with just pure luck alone. Hell, that's how he got all the drachma needed to pay the Rakan, the old fart as Kid calls him, to take him under his wing, Kyubi explained. Though said old fart tends to use the money on booze and women, usually at the same time. Sadly, it's the kid's money that's being used. I see. She turned to Naruto, who seemed to be glaring at the wall. Naruto-sensei, I'll offer my services to you to help find those chapters. That perked the blonde up really fast. Really? He asked. Yes. What's the catch? No catch. There's always a catch. Not with this one. A smile broke on Naruto's face. He nearly jumped over the table to hug the blue-haired girl. Yu, for her part, was blushing madly. After letting go of her, Naruto looked at his watch. Sorry Yu-chan, I've got to go. The next meeting starts up in a few minutes. After he ran out the door, with Kyubi at his heels, Yu slowly sat up and put a hand on her cheek. Why do I keep blushing around him? Yu asked herself. Interview 5. Ako Izumi. Naruto was really confused as to why he was sitting in the infirmary for this interview. He was sitting down on the bed in the room, and was staring at the girl who was fidgeting under his gaze. You okay, Ako-san? The blonde asked the silver-haired girl. I'm fine, Ako answered as she fidgeted under his gaze. I'm just not used to talking about myself. I mean, you can talk to other more interesting girls. Oh, you are not getting out of this interview. Naruto exclaimed. If you have a bad self-confidence, I'll help you with that. But, no buts, the blonde pointed his finger at her. I don't know how you got your confidence issues, and I'm not willing to ask just yet since we only met, but we will talk about you right now, okay? Ako nodded slowly. Oh okay, my name is Ako Izumi, and I am seat 5 in the class. I like cute band-aids and doing the laundry. She stopped when she heard Naruto snicker a bit. She looked down almost ashamed of what she said. He stopped laughing the moment he saw that. I'm so sorry Ako-san, Naruto told her after he stopped laughing a bit. It's not an embarrassing thing to like. It just you're the first person to tell me that. In fact, I think that is an amazing hobby. Really? Of course. I mean, wouldn't you like to snuggle into a warm out of the dryer blanket during a cold day? Yes, and don't you like the smell of your clothes after they come out, especially if you use your best freshener? Yes, and don't you think that's an awesome thing? Yes, that had Naruto smirking at her. Then that is a good hobby to have. Hell, my hobby is odd. I like watering plants. Ako giggled at the admission. That's a bit silly. Naruto shrugged and motioned her to continue. I dislike blood and fights. Wait, what are you doing in the infirmary then? I help out here a lot and assist the Shizuna-sensei. That's odd, but please continue. Ako nodded. My dream is to live my life as best as I can. No real goal. Well, I do want to find the right husband for me. This time instead of a smirk, Naruto's face made a small smile. That is a good dream. Everyone deserves someone who is just for them. Ako beamed at him. Thank you Naruto-sensei. Oh, and my birthday is on November 21st. Nodding his head, Naruto was about to head out the door, but stopped in his tracks. Ako-chan, do you know where the pool is? That's where I'm meeting Akira-chan. Ako blushed, not used to being called Ako-chan by a guy. She pointed towards the east and mumbled a bit. That way, Ako nodded. It's a big building with a lot of windows and a blue roof. So you won't miss it. Interview 6. Akira Okochi. After walking in the direction in which Ako pointed to, Naruto arrived at a huge gymnasium, specifically the pool part of it. He had walked in, and sat in the bleachers watching the girls swimming. though his eyes were on one girl more than the others, the one he came here to interview. Naruto watched as Akira did the backstroke and reached the end of the pool, a good few meters ahead of the other girls. After a whistle, the girls got out of the pool and dried off. He noticed Akira seeing him and waved. She waved back, which caused the other girls on the swim team to murmur and talk amongst themselves. Naruto rolled his eyes at the action, and nodded his head when Akira motioned that she was going to change first. Lounging around, Naruto looked about the pool and noticed that many girls kept looking at him. When he made eye contact they would blush, turn away, and giggle with their friends. The blonde sighed as he really didn't like those looks for one reason: fangirls. The moment he gets the, Naruto was always prepared to run away as fast as he can. Luckily, he didn't have to today. Akira had came and sat down next to him after 7 minutes of changing back into her school uniform, though her hair was a bit wet. Naruto-sensei. Good afternoon, the swimmer greeted. Afternoon, Akira-chan, he greeted back. The girl blushed when he did that. We barely know each other, Naruto-sensei, and you're already referring to me like that. Would you rather I call you Okochi-san? Please, I would never do that. That's just against my style. I see, Naruto-sensei, but at least you can call me Akira-san. Sure, Akira-san, the blonde replied, trying out the name. Nope, that won't do at all, it doesn't feel right. The girl next to him sighed, but smiled at his answer. So Akira-chan, tell me about yourself. Okay, my name as you know is Akira Okochi, seat 6 of class 3A. I like to help people from the sidelines and small animals. I dislike fighting and people bad-mouthing others. My hobbies are swimming, helping others and hanging out with my friends. My dream, well, I don't know just yet, but I want to make it to the Olympics as a swimmer. Big goals for yourself, huh? Naruto nodded. That's good to hear, though from what I heard of what you like and dislike, you sound similar to Ako-chan. Maybe it's because we're best friends, the swimmer suggested. That instantly clicked in Naruto's head. Oh, that would make sense. Well, I hope you make your dreams come true. I'll be rooting for you. Naruto stood up and stretched his legs. He was about to walk away, when he turned around with a smile on his face. By the way, Akira-chan, do you only wear one pieces? Because I swear you would look amazing in a bikini. As he saw her blush at what he said, he chuckled to himself and walked away. He didn't notice the thoughtful look on Akira's face as he said those words. Interview 7. Misa Kakizaki. The blonde hero had walked into a cafe and was surprised to see the person of his interview, Misa, kissing a boy with black hair on the cheek before he left their table and walked past him. Turning back to Misa, he had a thoughtful look on his face as he sat down at the table the girl was at. I take it that boy was your boyfriend? He asked the purple-haired girl. Misa beamed at him and nodded. Isn't he just wonderful? He wanted to stay and protect me from the scary teacher who might steal me away, she giggled. Naruto had to roll his eyes at the notion of him stealing her away. Oh please, I wouldn't do that. Not my style. I like to get girls who aren't in a relationship with another boy, but, enough about me. Tell me about yourself, Misa-san. My name is Misa Kakizaki. I'm seat in class of 3A as well as head cheerleader of the class. Oh, Naruto interrupted. Yup, Sakurako and Madoka are in it too. Now let's see, where was I? Oh yes, I like to eat prunes and my boyfriend. I dislike carbonated drinks. What, why? They just taste nasty to me, especially sodas. That caused Naruto to blink. That is a weird thing to dislike. Well, what don't you like? Misa challenged. The 3 minutes you have to wait for ramen to cook. That had Misa laughing. Really? Ha ha ha, that's weird. The blonde sighed and asked her to continue. Okay. My hobbies are shopping every weekend, going on dates with my boyfriend, and karaoke. You like to sing, huh? Of course, I would think I'm good at it too, seeing as I'm in the chorus club. You should invite me to a show then. I'd like to hear you singing. I'll remember to do that, Naruto-sensei. My dream is to marry my boyfriend, Misa sighed dreamily. Naruto chuckled and threw down some money on the table, even though he hadn't ordered anything. I'm sorry to cut this meeting short, but it seems like your boyfriend is glaring at the back of my head. Misa's eyes seemed to widen at that. Naruto looked over his shoulder and saw the same man who walked past him through a window, glaring at him. He waved at him before nodding at Misa. Walking out the door, he met up with Misa's boyfriend. You got a nice girlfriend, boy. Don't do anything stupid to screw it up, K. The boyfriend was about to reply, but Naruto had already left the scene. Interview 8. Asuna Kagurazaka. Leave me alone. Asuna shouted as she ran away from Naruto around the entire campus. But it's your turn to have your interview, Asuna-chan. Naruto shouted in return. Like I'll give you the chance. You'll probably just embarrass me like Negi does. Naruto kept chasing her, before losing sight of her in the crowd. Stopping in his tracks, he frowned. What the hell am I doing chasing after her? I'm so stupid for doing that. Naruto turned around and entered an empty alley. Reverse polarity. A light blue ring appeared under his feet and he teleported away. Kilometers away, he reappeared on top of a school building. Reaching into his back pocket, he pulled out what seemed to be a case. Opening it, he looked at the things inside. In there were 2 pactios. Reaching for the one in the back, he pulled out an old one. Evasim Vos, Ministra Naruto, Kagurazaka Asuna. I summon forth, attendant of Naruto, Kagurazaka Asuna, he chanted. A pink circle appeared before him and a bright light was emitted. A few seconds later, Asuna popped out of the circle. Wah! Asuna shouted as she fell onto Naruto. Wah! Looking around, Asuna found herself on top of some random roof with Naruto. How the hell did you get me here? You forgot. Naruto showed his apactio in his hand, one with a picture of a very young Asuna on it. You are a partner of mine. By the way, have you ever used this pactio yet? What do you mean if I have ever used it yet? Asuna frowned. I only learned about magic a few months ago. When Negi came to this school. Now that had Naruto surprised. Wait, you mean to tell me that you've only learned about magic a few months ago, and had no prior knowledge until now? I just said that. That made the blonde's face go slack. Bakamaiki has a lot of explaining to do, Naruto thought to himself. Look, I already spent most of my time chasing after you. I have only like 5 minutes left before my next interview. So just tell me your likes, dislikes, hobbies, dreams and birthday. The blonde stopped and added unsurely at the end, it is April 21st, right? Asuna's eyes widened. How did you know? I just remembered it. I'm not sure if Bakamaiki told you, but we used to be friends. Don't call Takahata-sensei that. The girl shouted. That set Naruto off a bit, but he didn't speak on it. Fine, just please hurry up and tell me what I asked of you. Asuna crossed her arms and pouted, but she relented against him. Okay, just stop chasing me. I'm seat 8 of the class. I like Takahata-sensei and cool men. I dislike little kids and studying. I enjoy sleeping in and doing art sometimes. My dream, to be with Takahata-sensei. Naruto slowly nodded and remembered that. Thanks, I'll be sure to talk to you again. You and I need to catch up, a lot. Naruto frowned before turning around. The same sky blue ring appeared about his feet and he teleported off of the roof. It was when he left, that Asuna remembered something important. Where the heck am I? Idiot, get back here and take me home. Interview 9. Msora Kasuga. For this interview, Naruto had found himself standing in a church. I didn't know there were Christians in the class, Msora-chan. Looking behind him, he saw a girl a few centimeters shorter than him. Her light brown hair was covered under none clothing. Naruto-sensei, sorry for asking you to come and interview me here. I sort of forgot I had my duties here at the church, Msora apologized. Waving it off, the blonde sat down in one of the pews with Msora sitting next to him. So Msora-chan, tell me about yourself, he whispered. He didn't want to raise his voice since there were some people praying around the building. Okay then, I'm Msora Kasuga, seat 9. I like short distance racing and causing some mischief once in a while. What I like are some of the boring sermons of the priests. I like doing my duties, though I just don't like it when Sister Kokon reprimands me for some things. My dream, I don't know yet, though I do know my birthday. It's on April 4th. After what she said, Naruto nodded his head. Interesting, Msora-chan, you really believe in your faith. This time Msora nodded her head. Of course, that's good to hear. Maybe you can persuade me to join then. Naruto stood up and pulled out a small piece of paper from his pocket and gave it to her. It's for the church, hope it helps out around here. Naruto left after the meeting, just to avoid the reaction the girl would have after looking at the check he left her. As he left the building, Msora looked at the slip of paper in her hand. Turning it over, her eyes widened as she did. She had stiffened and kept staring at it. It wasn't until a little nun, with dark skin and hair, came up to her. Msora, what's wrong? The little girl asked. Sister Kokon, I think my sensei has given us a blessing, Msora whispered. Showing the check to the little girl, her eyes also widened. A check of 100,000 yen were in their hands. We have to tell the priest about this. Nodding her head, both Msora and Kokon ran towards the back of the church to tell the priest of what a certain blonde had given them. A ways away, Naruto was looking at his checkbook. Man, that was a big dent in my pocket. I only have 300,000 in my checking right now. I should start accepting bigger jobs, should put it up onto my site. Interview 10. Chachimaru Karakuri. Greetings Naruto-sensei, the green-haired Gunoid greeted the blonde. Chachimaru, how are you? He asked the robot. I am well, and you? I'm doing well as well. Tell me about yourself. I am seat 10 of the class. I like serving tea and... Chachimaru mumbled something unintelligible. What was that? It was nothing. May I continue? Naruto was a bit confused but nodded his head. I dislike nothing in particular. My hobbies are taking care of master and serving tea. I have no dream, and my birthday is April 1st. Master? The blonde asked confusedly. Yes, my master, Evangeline McDowell. Oh, the midget is your master. Please do not insult master like that. Sorry, Naruto apologized. For some reason it felt odd to insult the robot, so he felt like he needed to apologize. If that was it, Naruto-sensei, I would like to go and get to my club. Okay then. Chachimaru got up and nodded her head, stood up and bowed. As she left, Naruto could only say two words, odd girl. Interview 11. Madoka Kujimaya. Naruto was walking to the place where he was meeting Madoka in the park, when he saw two guys talking to her as she sat on bench. He watched for a couple of seconds before she saw her give one guy a swift kick to the nuts and punch the other guy's face before standing up and walking away, with an angry scowl on her face. The brunette then saw Naruto and blushed in embarrassment. How much of that did you see, sensei? She asked. Naruto kept looking over her shoulder and then back at her. The moment you kicked the guy in the nuts and decked the other guy in the face, Naruto admitted, taking in the damage done to the other two. I have to ask, what did those two try to do to deserve that? They were hitting on me. Excuse me, the blonde asked, shocked. Okay. Then that crosses you of my list of potential girlfriends, Naruto joked. That had caused Madoka to blush. And Naruto-sensei, what are you saying? She stuttered. Hearing him laugh, soothed Madoka somewhat, yet a bit insulted. The two were walking as they went around the park. It's your turn to tell me about yourself, Madoka-chan. You don't like flashy guys who hit on you, what else do you not like? I don't like how my voice is a bit husky, and sounds like a guy's. Naruto looked at her as if she was crazy. Your voice doesn't sound like a guy's voice. Who the hell told you that? It's deeper than the other girls' voices. I don't think so. I like you voice, it's unique to you. Thanks. Madoka blushed again. So what do you like then? I like Mitsuya beef bowls, accessories made of out silver and western music. Recently I've liked Avril Lavigne. I like her too, she's pretty good. Went to a concert of hers last month with Kyuubi. Couldn't get backstage passes though. You went to one of her concerts? Madoka asked, awed by him. Yeah, I travel all over the world, doing various jobs for people. If I have time, I find some way to have fun. That concert was one of those times. Naruto stopped and looked at her. But, this isn't about me, it's about you. What are your hobbies? I like cheerleading, though I spend more time getting Misa and Sakurako out of trouble than anything else. My dream is to be a world-known music player. What instrument? I play the guitar. Man, all you girls have these big goals, or none at all. The blonde sighed, but his face had a smile on it. I respect you guys for that though. Naruto's head suddenly shot up as if an idea occurred to him. Reaching into the pocket of his jacket, he pulled out a white card and gave it to Madoka. What's this? She asked, looking at it. My business card. Naruto Uzumaki, jack of all trades. Will do anything for the right price, the cheerleader read aloud. Why are you giving me this card? I told you, I'm a jack of all trades. I've dabbled in almost every career, he repeated with a shudder. Some jobs I never want to do again. Turning to the girl he continued. Okay Madoka-chan, if you need anything from me just call the number there. It is my business phone number. Hi, Naruto-sensei. Is that all? You didn't tell me when your birthday was. Oh, I forgot that. It's on March 3rd. March 3rd, I'll remember that. The blonde smiled at the student, who smiled back at him. Oi, the two looked up and saw the man Madoka kicked in the nuts along with his friend. What is the big idea, girl? We want to take you out for dinner and you attack us. What the foo? You were hitting on my girl. Naruto interrupted then. Madoka was surprised at what he said, and even more so as he put an arm around her waist. Your girl? What the hell are you talking about? I was coming after work to see my girl here and I find out you were hitting on her. Well, I'm glad she kicked your ass from the looks of things. Turning to Madoka he gave her a large smile. I'm so proud of you Madoka-chan. He gave her a chaste kiss on the cheek before going back to glaring at the boys. I'll say this once punk. Try hitting on her again, and I'll do the same thing she did to you. Except with my kick. I doubt you'd have any more kids. And your friend there might need some plastic surgery when I'm through with him. Got it. The two boys nodded and ran off. When he was sure they were gone Naruto unwrapped his arm from the girl's waist and sighed in relief. He turned to her and saw that she was blushing beet red. Sorry about that Madoka-chan. I didn't know what else to do. Thanks for watching. Also remember to subscribe and like this video. See you in the next video.